8:33 on September 8th. Mr. Clerk, could we have a roll call, please?
Commissioner Hopkins.
Present.
Commissioner Johnson. Commissioner Jackson. Commissioner Young.
Here.
Commissioner Burrell. Commissioner Jones. Commissioner Gage Watts. Commissioner Taliaferro.
Here, sir.
Commissioner Atkins.
Here.
Commissioner Chavez.
Here, sir.
Commissioner Lazarus.
Here.
And Commissioner Epperson. All right, you have 9 of 12 members present, and that does constitute a quorum.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk. Commissioner Johnson, would you be kind enough to lead us in an invocation?
Yes.
And Commissioner Young, would you lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance, please? All stand, please.
Let's pray. Dear Heavenly Father, we want to say thank you for allowing us to see a brand new day. Father, thank you for the knowledge that you give us to lead our community. Father, we ask that you cover and pray for the family of Queen Elizabeth on the loss of her today. Father, we ask that you continue to cover our law enforcement officers and our military. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Face the flag and recite the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Commissioner Johnson, for that pledge, and thank you, Commissioner Young, for the pledge, and Commissioner Johnson for the invocation. Mr. Clerk, do we have any agenda additions?
We do have one. So under agenda additions today, there is one potential item, which is the potential resolution 44 of 2022. And it is a resolution to urge and request the Caddo Parish Planning Board to review and make recommendations regarding the placement of mobile homes as a use by right in RA zoning districts and to otherwise provide with respect thereto, from Commissioner Johnson. So should you want to add this to your agenda today as a resolution, you would need to have a public hearing to expand the agenda. But then you could, add, after you asked for anybody for or against the expansion of the agenda, you could add the item to the agenda and it could be considered today.
Okay, so we have the public hearing first and then we do the vote? Okay. The floor is now open for a public hearing regarding the expansion of the agenda to include the issue of a resolution. Can you repeat the resolution again by title, Jeff?
Sure, it's Resolution 44 of 2022. It's a resolution to urge and request the Caddo Parish Planning Board to review and make recommendations regarding the placement of mobile homes as a use by right in RA zoning districts and otherwise provide with respect thereto.
Move to add to the agenda.
Second.
All right, we have a motion to add and a second. Motion to add by Commissioner Johnson, a second by Commissioner Epperson. Now we open the floor for public hearing. Is anyone here to speak for or against the proposed resolution? If so, please come up to the podium now. Seeing no one, the public hearing is closed. Commissioner Johnson, do you have anything to say on this?
Well, I mean, this would kind of alleviate the problem that we heard on Monday and what we'll be facing in a couple of weeks in District 2. And so if the property is RA, there's no need, right now, they don't have to put any signs out basically saying that it's a zoning change, because by RA standards, you can put a modular home on an acre lot. And so with this, it would be by special permit. So if you have certain kind of residents around this particular area, we can actually deny it because of the surrounding area. If it's basically wooded, we can go ahead and let it go, but it will give us the option, and it will give the public input to be able to say yes or no if they want that particular modular building close to their home.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Young.
Thank you, Mr. President. May I ask a question of the author of the legislation?
Sure.
Commissioner Johnson, is there any other district where someone could put a mobile home as of right, other than RA?
Not that I know of. No, that's the only one.
So according to your understanding, this would make it like not legal to put a mobile home anywhere in Caddo Parish unless you get special permission?
Right, by special permit.
Okay, thank you, I understand. Thank you, Mr. President.
Okay, so let's vote now on whether to include this on today's agenda or not. A yes would include it, a no would disallow.
Okay, and that motion does not carry as agenda additions have to pass unanimously. But the vote total is 8 in support, 1 in opposition, and 2 absent. And that brings us to citizens' comments. Where citizens who wish to address the commission on any issue other than zoning are asked to fill out a comment card located in the chamber foyer, and then you can return those cards right here in this box to my left. And I will submit those to the president. Thus far, I believe that we have received one. Individual comments are limited to 3 minutes, and if anybody else would like to submit one, again, right there is where you can do that.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Clerk. Our first citizen's comment is Constance Greer. Is that right, Constance Greer? Here we are. Hello, Ms. Greer.
Good afternoon. Well, that went fast. Hi there. Thank you for allowing myself as a visitor to speak today. My name is Constance L. Green. I reside at 4475 Rice Road in Shreveport, Louisiana, 71119. Thank
Excuse
you.
me, is it Green or Greer? I couldn't.
Green, Green.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you.
My apologies.
No problem. Thank you. I need to be brief because I certainly don't want you to ask me to take a seat because I've passed my 3 minutes. I'm here today because Rice Road is a community that I call it that represents a lot of growth for this city. There has been a lot of new construction on Rice Road, I would say over the last 5 years, or maybe a little bit longer than that. But recently, we have had a trailer put on our road from a landowner that owns about 40 acres of land. Back in 2014, we were present with this same information, with this same problem in regards to a mobile home, a trailer park being placed on that same property. What the property owner has thus done in this point is circumvented that law and placed a trailer as his homestead, I would suppose. That is not verifiable yet. He currently lives off the Ellaby Road location, and the residents of Rice Road are very, very, very upset. We, in the new homes that have recently been built, probably average anywhere from, all of them are in 6 figures, anywhere from 400,000 to $1 million plus. So therefore, we're here today to oppose the trailer that has been placed on Rice Road. We want to use an example of the Railsback community that recently made great news for Shreveport, Louisiana. You all, really good news for Shreveport, Louisiana. Nationally, there is a $3,850,000 home up for sale. $3 million, think about it, Shreveport. $3,850,000. And you know, that's what Rice Road is trying to do. We raised our children will be property owners, our children want to come back, but they certainly don't want to thrive in a community where you have $500,000 plus homes and right next to it a trailer park or a trailer. I don't know if I've passed my 3 minutes right now.
You've got 20 seconds left.
Okay,
Yes,
and one
ma'am.
more thing I do want to say is what inspired me to buy this 50 acres was Thurgood Estates, Mr. Thurgood Marshall from Atlanta. And Gandhi says, you create the dream that you desire to see. And I dream of a Shreveport thriving. I dream of a Shreveport having homes where people will want to come here and live here in residences that they see their value grow. Whom would put a trailer and devalue the property of property owners that pay huge taxpaying dollars to this city? On behalf of the Rice Road residents, again, my name is Constance L. Green, and thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Green. Okay, is there any more citizens' comments, Mr. Clerk?
I've not received any other comments, so if you have not, I will move along to the next item on the agenda.
Todd, is this where you want to?
Yes, I'd like to suspend the rules to move the animal control case up at this time.
And could you
So-
tell us why you want to move it up?
Well, our attorney will need to excuse herself here in just a little bit,
Okay.
and I would like for her to be here when we do hear that case.
Okay, so we have a motion to suspend the rules and move the animal control issue up to this point in the agenda. Any other questions on that before we ask for a vote? Do we need a public hearing on that?
No.
No, okay. All right, let's vote, please.
Commissioner Burrell?
Okay, and that motion carries with 9 in support, none in opposition, and 3 absent. And so if you would, this item is listed as item number 22 on your agenda. This is the Caddo Animal Service Board Appeal, with the appellant being the Odell family. And this is in relation to cases number CO65066623, CO7079696, and CO7088758.
Okay, this is the first time we've had an appeal of this nature. Mr. Clerk, did the Odell speak first, or does our Animal Services team speak first?
Typically, I think what would happen is our Animal Services Director would just introduce the situation, and then the appellant has an opportunity to speak.
Okay. Mr. Samuel. And could the Odells here? Okay. thank
Yes,
you.
they are. Good afternoon, Commissioners. I am Kelvin Samuel, the Assistant Director, Caddo Parish Animal Services and Mosquito Control. And what we have here today with this particular board, I have my board members that are appointed by the Caddo Commission. It's typically 7, but I have 4 that's here that actually voted on this particular case to uphold the dangerous dog for Bane, the Odell's dog. And if you see, I have attached some minutes from that particular meeting, which was held September 2nd at 12:15 approximately. We had Ms. Sarah Walton, who is assigned as the tax-exempt local humane organization, Ms. Lorraine Gorel, at-large City of Shreveport by administrator. I don't think we have Ms. Catherine Allred here, do we? She didn't make it today? Okay, she's the animal establishment operator, and we have Sergeant Gary Bailey, law enforcement representative. So they unanimously voted to uphold the standards of a dangerous dog for Bane. And so they are here, and the Odells actually ruled against that decision. And so they have 3 days to send it to the commission body. That's why we're here now, to see if this dangerous dog upholds or if it's declined. So for now, it's in your hands. You could have the Odells come up, or you can have one of the board members to explain the case.
Well, let's stick with the board members first.
Okay.
To have the parish's perspective, and then we'll hear from the Odells.
That sounds great. All right.
Who will be speaking on behalf of the board?
You can come up, Sergeant Bailey, whomever, whichever one you guys want to come. All of
No,
them?
just
one?
just whoever wants to speak on behalf of the board. Thank you for your service to this Animal Control Board.
Thank you. My name is Sarah Walton, and I'm a nonprofit. So we met, and we actually went and met with the dog prior. And our initial meeting of the dog, that he wasn't really aggressive towards us. He was scared in a timid environment. And then we held the meeting, and so we met with the owners of the livestock. And so they actually presented evidence where the dog, that hand, was on their property in their field fence. And they had a witness, which was the owner of the sheep, who witnessed the sheep being attacked by this said dog. So when we met with the owners of the dog, they mentioned that they did not have a full fence. And going back and forth with conversation with them and communicating with them, they were going back and forth in conversation with them. They did not want the dog to be deemed dangerous, but the only way that we could uphold that they follow the guidelines is that we do deem the dog dangerous, because the dog is dangerous to the livestock. Now, this wasn't the first time this has happened. It's happened twice. And also the owners of the sheep use their livestock as their food. I believe the wife has autoimmune disorder, and so they actually breed these sheep for their food. So we took everything into account when we made this decision, and we feel we made the right decision.
Thank you. Stand by. Commissioner Young?
Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you. Could you remind me your name, please?
Sarah Walton.
Ms. Walton, thank you so much for being here. Is there any doubt in your mind that it was the Odell's dog, Bane, that injured the sheep?
No, there wasn't.
Okay. Is there any contestation of that fact from the Odells themselves?
So they came up, and there's actual video and pictures of them reaching into the sheep homeowner's fence and pulling the dog out. So there is photo proof of that, and this happened right after the sheep were killed. There's no photo proof of it, but the husband, the owner of the sheep, did witness it and testified to that to us. And as mentioned to the dog owner, we didn't feel as much as the dog was an aggressive or dangerous dog. The dog was a cur mix, and that's what they're bred to do. So it was more so of irresponsible ownership on behalf of the dog. So the fact that this has happened twice now, and they still hadn't built a fence, was our main concern. And we run into that a lot in our board meetings, is that it's not necessarily the dog's doing what it's bred to do. It's that we're required as homeowners and property owners to take care of that. So that was our reason for our decision.
So may I ask, you say this dog is doing what it's bred to do. Do you think that in some context this dog's breed is just dangerous, and that therefore
No.
it has to be confined so that it doesn't get around livestock that it
I
is
believe
bred
that-
to want to harm?
I believe that any dog needs to be confined on their premises. I don't believe that it was specific to his breed, but as far as having dogs of that nature around livestock, they have to be trained. You know, that's what they're going to do. They're going to go chase them. It's their natural instinct.
I see. So you don't think, when you say the dog is not dangerous, are you specifically saying it seems nice to people when you go around it, it seems friendly, it seems like a normal dog, but when it's at large, left to its own devices near a sheep,
Correct.
like it has the instinct to injure the sheep?
Correct.
Thank you. That's all, Mr. President.
Thank you, Commissioner Young. Commissioner Hopkins?
I've got a question from Mr. Samuels. There you are. Okay. I noticed there's 3 reports here, and one of the reports is that on the 29th, but that dog was y'all had possession of that dog at that time, correct?
Yes, we've had Bane. Yes, we did.
Okay. So there was another dog running around then if they called in with a complaint.
Now, previously we did have a complaint. It's a brown dog. I don't know if that's the Odell. I think that is their dog as well. So there's been a couple of cases.
Okay.
But this particular case, the daughter was walking Bane, and Bane snatched the leash away and, hopped the fence or went under the fence or however.
Because it says
Still
on
at
the
large.
third case, it says a black and white.
Right, that's
pit
Bane.
mix.
That's Bane.
But that was a day that the Bane was in the facility
Right.
at Animal Services.
Right. We
Okay.
have no doubt. No, it wasn't in the facility that day. The date of the case that the sheep had the
Was the 23rd.
lacerations, right, fresh wounds. The Odells didn't oppose to that. They acknowledged that Bane was in the particular yard at that time. So we all know that Bane was at large
Okay.
during the fresh wounds of the sheep. So, and
That's all I
Bane is
had.
still at the facility as we speak.
All right, thank you.
Commissioner Chavez, who's your question for?
It's actually both of them. So really quick, for Mrs. Walton, this breed is it's specifically bred to kill sheep? Or
No, this was
Come on up,
Sergeant Bailey's.
Sergeant.
okay, I didn't understand that.
Mr. and Miss
So we
Odell,
met the
we'll
dog
get to
and-
y'all. You'll have your shot. Be patient.
I'm sorry, I'm Sergeant Gary Bailey with Caddo Parish Sheriff's Office. I represent livestock.
Okay.
For the Caddo Parish, picking up loose livestock. I was in K-9 for 10 years prior to this assignment. Thing about dogs, the way animals move or way to put them in different drives. The goats themselves, when they move, they're quick, agile, which brings out the prey drive in this type of dog. Well, just about any type of cow dog, or it's pretty much like a little cur dog.
Could you
I
please
say
get to
little.
the mic, Deputy?
Closer to the
Oh.
mic.
I'm sorry. This type of dog here, they are raised for herding cattle, sheep, any type of livestock. The way the animals move, whether it be a rabbit, goat, sheep, they're quick, decisive moves. It puts a dog into prey drive, meaning they want to chase that object. It's like throwing a frisbee. It moves fast, they want to chase it. Same thing with a rabbit, goat, sheep. You can pet the dog, everything like that, but when he goes into prey drive, he goes into herding or catching, which he's pretty much like a catch dog. He'll bite him around the neck and hold him,
Okay.
which end up killing 4 of them at
That-
the time.
Sergeant, don't go nowhere. Thank you for that.
Yes, sir.
So, do the Odells have this dog as a pet, or do they have livestock as well? And this dog herds their livestock.
From my understanding, it's just a pet for their 11-year-old daughter. We even, like suggested, they got a 3-sided fence. All they have to do is pretty much put the fence on the very back of the property.
So when we're disputing a dangerous dog, he's not dangerous to humans.
No.
Okay. And then my second question was going to be, I heard that a sheep was killed. Did you say that 4 sheep were killed?
I believe 4 of them were.
Okay.
On the second, I don't know how many was killed on the first incident, but the second one, I think it was 4.
Okay. And then the last question, this could be for you, Sergeant, or Kelvin. If we deem this dog dangerous, does this dog get to stay with the owners, or do we have to confiscate this dog?
Commissioner Chavez, that dog will stay with the owners, but if you hold the deemed status of this dog, it lives with this dog for the duration of its life, and there's stipulation that goes with the dog that deems dangerous, right? There's a collar that goes with it. There's all these stipulations in the ordinance under section 867. It has to wear a collar. Once it's walked, it has to have a muzzle. It has to have a fence requirement. They can't rehome the dog without notifying Caddo Parish. There's a fee, initial fee, and there's a sign that says dangerous dog, Caddo Parish, that goes up on their fence, and those are the stipulations that goes with it. It's never removed.
Okay. Thank
Okay.
you, Kelvin.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, President.
Commissioner, thank you, Commissioner Telefaro.
Sergeant Bailey, if you would, being a K-9 officer, you mentioned the prey drive.
Correct.
Do you have your when you were are you currently K-9?
No, sir.
Okay, so when you were, did your K-9 go home with you?
Yes, sir.
And was your K-9 dangerous to your family?
One of them was, yes. The other 2 were not.
Okay, so when you're out in the field, and we have other and you release your K-9, and other officers are in the area, what is typically do you tell those officers to do or not to do?
Be still,
And why is that?
because it will drive the dog, get his focus away from the original target.
And would that initiate the prey drive?
Correct.
Okay. So, I'm sorry, Ms. Walton?
Yes.
All right, so you mentioned earlier in your initial statement that you labeled the dog dangerous. Is that because there was no other term to label the dog? You really don't believe the dog is dangerous, as in dangerous to everything it comes in contact with. It's just you didn't have another choice. The dog wasn't vicious, the dog was dangerous, and those are the only 2 terms you could use. Is that correct?
Correct.
And so that's the reason you actually use the term dangerous.
Correct.
Because you had no other term to use to
Correct.
fit this situation.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Commissioner Talaferro. Commissioner Young, second time.
Yes, thank you, Mr. President. Commissioner Taliaferro has one more thing to say. Do you
Go
want us to
ahead.
get back to
Yeah,
him?
thank you. Mr. Samuel, I know you're back there somewhere. Oh, there you are.
Yes, yes, sir.
So when you say that there's a when we brand a dog dangerous,
Right?
that term or that brand never leaves that dog.
It never leaves the dog.
Okay, so the interesting thing, well, the thing that concerns me the most is, tell us what happens if the dog has a similar experience or does a similar act. What is the dog listed then?
So,
Is there like levels of danger until we get to vicious, or is it danger goes right to vicious?
well, the way we typically label a dog dangerous initially is the severity of a bite or an attack. So for sheep is why I think the initial danger, and we'll start by just talking about the definition of a dangerous dog. Dog that, when unprovoked, shall be deemed dangerous. If dog bites, injures, or inflicts a bite on a human being or domestic animal, either upon public property or those areas of private property that are unfenced and normally accessible to the public, chases or approaches a person upon streets, sidewalks, or public grounds in a terrorizing or menacing fashion or apparent attitude of attack, bites or injures animals or persons authorized to enter upon the owner's premises, such as letter carriers, meter readers, trash collectors, repair persons, delivery persons, or business customers, provided that the persons authorized to enter upon the owner's premises should not include unauthorized intruders, such as burglars, trespassers, in owner's business, house of apartment, or within fenced area of premises not normally accessible to the public. The director and his agents shall make and all determinations that a dog is dangerous. And then, of course, that's when this board assembles to uphold that. And then if it's appealed, is why we're here now. So the next vote is upon the commission body.
Okay, so let me be clear, and thank you, John Paul, for allowing me to speak. So if the dog gets out again and has a similar experience, do we come back to danger again? In other words, we have another board hearing?
You only have two choices, dangerous or vicious.
Okay.
Vicious,
So-
there's no going back.
So my point
It's
is
straight
that-
euthanasia.
So my point is that Bane is on the list to go to vicious if something else happens.
Possibly.
Okay, and if he does go to vicious, what else? What's the result?
If he goes to vicious, we won't be here. It'll be straight euthanasia.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you. Commissioner Young.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. Samuel, stay up for a second so I can ask you. Thank you for telling us the definition of a dangerous dog. Everybody has that definition at their station. I would like to call attention, before I ask my questions, to definition number 1, where it says bites, injures, or inflicts a bite upon a human being or domestic animal. Mr. Samuel, is a sheep a domestic animal?
It is.
Yes. So, does this dog clearly fit the legal definition of a dangerous dog under Caddo Parish law?
Under the ordinance, the definition, it fits.
Yes, okay. And there's no question about that from either party. Both parties agree that the dog bit a domestic animal.
It did. It bit a domestic
But
animal.
we agree that it didn't just bite one domestic animal, it killed domestic animals.
Yes.
More than one.
Yes.
4.
Yes.
Animals of economic value on someone else's property.
Right.
Not in a public place, but on someone else's private property.
Yes.
Worse than a public place, somewhere where someone else was keeping their own livelihood or their nutrition,
Sustenance.
or their nutrition and sustenance
Yes.
separate from other people.
Yes.
And if we don't find the dog dangerous today, and it does this again, will the dog be, we'll have to come back here and say whether it's dangerous or not. We won't have the opportunity then to say whether it's vicious because there won't have been a previous finding of dangerousness.
Yes, it would be a previous finding, and
But if we overturn that finding, will it be a vicious dog next time it be put down, or will it get another shot again?
it would be a vicious dog next time.
Why is that?
If it's deemed dangerous by you all.
Today?
Yes.
Right, so if we say it's not dangerous today, and it
If
does it
it's-
again, then it's not necessarily vicious.
Right. And I think what Mrs. Walton was getting at, I think when they had the discussion, there's corrective measures that can be taken to fix situations. And I'm thinking what she was saying earlier is that she only had dangerous and vicious in order to get the fence properly corrected is why she made the choice. I think what she was trying to put out to you guys. So yes, vicious, we don't see you again.
Right.
It's what it is.
So, Mr. Samuel, do you have to have a finding of dangerous dog to require someone to fix their fence?
No,
No.
no.
And this has happened a year ago. This has happened before, has it not?
Right.
And nobody fixed their fence. Is that right?
Obvious- Right,
And so it happened again.
right.
So this is repetitive. It's a habit. And when something is a habit that harms their neighbor, that's negligence. And it's persistent. And this dog keeps doing it. And if we don't find this dog dangerous, but they fix their fence, and their daughter walks it again and it pulls away, and it gets into their neighbor's yard, near those sheep, what's it gonna do?
It's gonna do the same.
But
that
if we
did
find it
prior.
dangerous, when the daughter walks it, what is that dog gonna be wearing on its face?
A muzzle.
And when it gets out from then and gets into the neighbor's yard next to the sheep, what's it gonna do?
It's gonna continue to do the same prey drive.
But it's not gonna bite anybody, is it?
No.
Because it's gonna have a muzzle on its face.
Right.
Right. And we can't put a muzzle on its face unless we find it dangerous today, can we?
Right.
We can't force anyone to fix their fence in a way that the dog can escape from unless we find it dangerous today. We can force them to fix their fence, but the escape-proof fences come under the consequences of a dangerous dog finding. Is that correct?
Yes, yes. There's stipulations for the fence.
Right. You
There's
can't get
certain
out of
requirements.
one of
Right.
those.
Right.
And if this dog is friendly to people but not to all other animals, for instance, smaller dogs maybe, and it's not labeled dangerous, and the owners want to take it to be boarded or to be groomed, is there any way that we're going to be certain that the groomer or the boarder knows that this dog attacks other animals? Are they going to be forced to notify a boarder or a groomer?
If it's deemed, yes.
If it's deemed dangerous,
Yes.
yes, but if it's
Yes.
not deemed dangerous, no.
It's whatever
Is that
they
correct?
decide to tell. Right.
So
Right.
if we don't find this dog dangerous, we will be releasing into the community a dog that we know fits the definition of dangerous under our own law. Is that correct?
From reading the definition,
And
that's what
the
it says.
public safety that we are supposed to protect is the humans and their property, not the dogs. Isn't that right?
That's what we.
We are not in the business of protecting dogs. We control animals. Isn't that right?
That's correct.
We protect people and their property. Okay.
All
So
right.
to me, this seems perfectly clear. The dog is dangerous. I swore an oath to apply the law as it's written, and I'm going to vote that this dog is dangerous. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
You done, Commissioner Young?
Yes.
All right. I have a question. Ms. Walton, when you all were meeting previously as a board, were there other options that you all had in mind as a solution to this problem?
In previous cases, we've come across of having to enforce the dangerous law based on the fencing and based on the responsibility shown by the owners. And so that's why we've enforced it previously in some cases. On this one, I don't know what we met with the dog. We all went into this hoping it would be easy. Then we met with the owners of the sheep. They were very sincere in their statements, and they had lost some of their livestock. And then we met with the owners of the dog, and it was a very tough conversation back and forth of responsibility and taking responsibility. And we didn't feel as a board that they were hearing what we were saying of the importance of taking responsibility for your dog. So we didn't feel we had any other choice other than deem it dangerous.
If they had taken if in your view they had taken responsibility for the dog ownership, what moves would they have made? What suggestions would they have adopted?
I think their fence would have already been fixed after it happened the first time.
Okay, if they agreed to a fence, would you have felt, if they agreed to install the fence, would you feel differently about the ruling of the board?
I think if we sat down and discussed it again, that may go differently, but I feel based on the discussion that we had and what we spoke about, the decision we made would stand.
Okay. Thank you very much. Seeing no one else on the board for the parish and the parish board, you all may be seated, and we'll ask the Odells to come to the podium.
Right here.
That'd be fine. Please introduce yourself, Ms. Odell.
My name's Christy Odell. We live at 8041 Highway 1, Shreveport, Louisiana, 71107. This is,
I'm Brian Odell, live in the same household.
and this is our 17-year-old, she's 17, not 11, daughter Kendall Odell. She's a junior at Word of God Academy.
Thank you. I think that sometimes a 1 can look like a 7, so I apologize.
Yeah, she's 17. So.
Okay, what are y'all's perspective?
So I'm going to do the speaking, but if y'all want to chime in. But so initially, the first case that's being discussed apparently a year ago, we're not disputing that Bain was on their property and that we're willing to pay a fine for that, and we're not disputing that we need a fence, and we already.
I'm sorry, can you say that again?
We're not disputing that we need a fence, but what we're disputing is that Bain, our dog, actually attacked those sheep. So on the first offense, apparently a year ago or so, Bain was apparently on their property. We got Bain back. He had no blood on his face. The Caddo Parish board the animal control came out, and they asked if they could see Bain. They saw Bain. They said they told us that there was an allegation or concern that Bain had killed a sheep, and that they had a photo, and we were like, well, he didn't have any blood on his face, and that he took a picture and he left. Bad landowner or dog owner, whatever, I need to be called. I didn't really realize I needed a fence. So that's something that we're going to take care of. Either way, I have the estimate. We've already gotten someone to come out, and it's going to be done
Next week.
So that's not. I'm not debating that, but I am debating that, as well as this time when Brian, my daughter, and my son were present. I was out of town. Apparently there's video and a picture. We've not seen any of it. But there's video and a picture of Brian picking Bain up and bringing him back over the fence. And there's a picture of a dead sheep. But it's my understanding that there's not a time stamp. There's not a proof that happened then. I know 2 weeks earlier, which I tried to communicate with the board, the landowner had called my dad, who lives on the property with us, and all of their sheep were missing. Three sheep were missing, and could we help her find them? So those sheep could have possibly gotten attacked. We have coyotes. We have other dogs. I think we did send a picture of another dog that looks like Bain with the white head that was running around our property when they took Bain. It was the day after they took Bain, or we brought Bain in. There was another dog that looks just like Bain. I was trying to show them, not that we want that dog picked up, but that there's other animals that run our property. We have coyotes at night. So if those sheep or lamb got out, that could have been a picture that they took another time. And I don't know the motive. I don't know the intent. But what I do know is that we haven't seen proof that Bain did that. They're saying 4 sheep. We've not seen any evidence, except they're saying there's a picture and there's a witness. Well, my husband, my daughter, and my son were witnesses that there was no blood on Bain's face. If he actually killed that many animals, there would be blood all over his face. If we felt like Bain did that, we wouldn't want
You would put him down.
That's not right. That's not right. We would address it accordingly, but we haven't seen evidence to support that. And, you know, fence, we'll take care of it. We just don't feel like there's substantial evidence to show that Bain actually did that.
Okay, thank you. Any questions for the Odells? Commissioner Young?
Hi, thank you. What time of day was the attack that is uncontested?
The alleged attack happened.
Well, the one that you
around-
agree happened.
No, I
No,
do
we
not
don't
agree.
agree that the attack
Oh,
occurred.
everybody else said that you agreed that
No,
your
we,
dog had.
That's why
no,
we're here.
that's why we're here.
I see a
We do
sheriff-
not
I see a
agree.
sheriff deputy laughing behind you. I wonder if this is consistent with the record. Sir, do you remember different testimony?
We agree
We-
that it's at large and that we agreed to build a fence and pay a
So
fine.
you agree that your dog was at large
Yes.
at the time that the sheep were
And I
mauled?
agree that I got the dog over. He was on a leash.
And
She
he was
walking.
was he in their property
And he
Yes,
was in
and
the
we agree
property.
with
at
that.
the time that the sheep were injured?
We
I don't
don't
know if that's
know.
when it was.
We
You
don't
don't know
believe
when
that
the
that
sheep were injured.
happened. No, the one person saw that, and that was
The sheep owner
the
is
sheep
the only
owner.
witness.
Yes,
So
is
there's
the wit-
no other record?
No,
Okay.
no,
Well,
and so that's our concern. If Bain truly harmed those sheep, we wouldn't be here. We would
We've already
not
put him
be
down.
here.
I don't.
And we agree with about the fence. I mean, we are not disputing what they feel like we are bad owners about. What we're disputing is there's no evidence to support that Bain, our dog, did that.
What time of day was the attack?
5 o'clock in the afternoon.
Do you know coyotes to come out at that time of day and
Yes,
attack people?
I have seen them.
What are the weather conditions when they do that? Or is it sunny and bright like it was that day, or was that day misty and thick?
No, that day was cloudy. It was wet. Just got through raining. He pulled her with a rabbit. The ground was wet, and she let go, and so she wouldn't.
Did anybody see a coyote?
No.
Is there a claim that anybody saw a
No,
coyote?
no, sir.
So it's conceivable that there was a coyote, but you know for a fact that your dog was on their property.
I'm
with
not
the
saying
sheep.
a coyote. We're not saying a coyote did.
We're
I'm
just
saying
making,
this.
we're just saying that there's all kinds of possibilities, and just because they have a picture of a dead lamb doesn't mean that that occurred right then. 2 weeks earlier, they were looking for their lamb that were off of their sheep off of their property.
So they
And-
have a
and
picture of a dead lamb on the same day that they have a picture of your dog
There's
with
not
their
a
sheep
timestamp
in
though
there.
on that picture that shows that they took it at that time, is my understanding.
So they know your dog comes to their property where their sheep are, but they can't prove what time, but you can't prove what time. Is there an alibi for Bain at this time? Was he was he watching TV with y'all? Was he
No, I
on a
told
walk
you,
somewhere?
We were walking him down the road. Our property is set up. We have a long driveway. Their sheep stay on this side. We walk them down. He sees them every day. We've been living there for 7 years beside them. So I'm sorry that it happened 2 times, but the last time it happened, there was no blood on him. They tried to say it was. There was no blood on him. This time, there was no blood on him when pulled him back across the fence.
You're both good at imagining the possibility of another animal that attacked these sheep. Can you imagine a way a dog could get blood off of himself?
Not in a 15 minutes.
Not in 15, 20 minutes.
My dogs lick themselves clean all the time, and they love blood. So I can imagine a way your dog could clean its face with blood.
Okay.
I think that's fair. I
Okay.
think that's fair. I would, before we're finished, I would like to hear the testimony of the deputy who's signaling behind
Okay.
on the.
We'll come back to you a second time. Commissioner Talaferro.
Thank you, Mr. President. Is Bain at any time is Bain known to jump fences? Is he
No,
capable of jumping fences?
He
I know
probably
most
could,
people are.
but he doesn't jump their fence, no.
I'm sorry.
We've never seen him jump their fence, no, sir.
Is that the only way he can get in?
I don't know.
To your
I mean,
knowledge,
he
is
might,
it- to your
their
knowledge-
fence is not, their fence is,
It's makeshift at best. It's got.
Is it a
tie
hog
strap.
wire? Is it sheep fence?
yeah, it's just,
It's
anything
a
can get
4-foot
through.
fence.
Yeah,
Is it on
anything
4
could get-
sides? Does
yeah.
it protect the property?
Yeah, yes, sir,
Okay, so there's fence around the property where the sheep are.
yes, sir.
So how would you perceive Bain got into the sheep's pen or the
Uh,
sheep's acreage?
No, did you see it? I'm assuming he got around in the back.
It's hog wire.
It's like a barbed wire fence,
It is or not?
yes.
It is, so it's stranded.
It's like a,
Okay, so it's got gaps in it.
Yes,
So
sir.
it's not hog wire, it's not sheep wire.
No.
It doesn't have squares.
No, sir.
Typically.
Some
okay.
places have it, but not all of it.
Okay. So it is conceivable that Bane could have just slipped through the
Yes, sir.
straight wire.
Yes, sir.
Okay, because it's not barbed.
Yes, sir.
Okay. And you willfully admit that he's been on that property?
Yes.
Yeah, I don't deny that. No, sir.
Okay. But your testimony is, I'm sorry, testimony. I don't want to seem like we're grilling you. But your statement is that, that there's no evidence, physical evidence, that would prove that Bane was responsible for this alleged attack. That everything seems to be circumstantial right now.
It's our understanding, because we have not been provided any pictures or video. It's our understanding that there's a picture of a dead animal, a dead sheep, lamb.
And when you were presented these pictures,
We
We
haven't
weren't.
seen any.
oh, you haven't seen it?
No, we have never been shown him.
We haven't been seeing anything. I don't, when they're talking about 3 cases.
Were you presented the pictures at the hearing with the?
No,
No.
sir.
So you've never seen one picture?
No, sir. And I asked what the evidence was at the hearing, and they stated that there's video of my husband taking Bane over the fence, and then there's a picture of a dead animal.
So did the hearing committee ever mention any pictures?
Yes, they said there's a
Did they
picture.
present them to you to see?
No, sir.
They did say that they based their decision on the dog being on their land. That's why they were calling it that.
And no other physical evidence other than the dog, which you freely admit
Yes.
pays a visit to that side of the fence?
Twice, yes, sir.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Commissioner Talafaro. Commissioner Chavez.
Thank you, President. The commissioners, there's some pictures of this on the file if you look under the PDF. And then this question is, I guess, first off, to the family, has the family that's accusing Bane of doing this, have they requested restitution for the sheep that have been killed?
No, sir. Not to us.
Okay. Attorney Frazier, would our decision today deeming that a dangerous dog solidify a case of a civil suit that could then turn the other accusing party to come get restitution for it? The research I've done shows that sheep is worth $300, 300 times 4, so for $1,200. Would this substantiate that?
Commissioner, that is kind of, only a judge could really make that ruling. I think it definitely could be used to bolster a civil case, but whether or not it's gonna be a shoe-in or whether it would substantiate that, I think that's a little bit beyond the scope of what I could ethically tell you.
I just want to make sure that the decisions that we make are in regards to that and don't do anything else arbitrarily. Okay, thank you. Thank you guys for coming out. President, I'm done.
Can I say one more thing?
Sure.
We have 3 dogs. Bane has a sister. Doesn't look like a pit bull or that breed that's dangerous or bred. She looks like a lab. We have a 7-pound Yorkie that sleeps with him, eats food with him out of the same bowl. We have a rabbit that we have, and we've had horses. Never had a problem with the dog doing anything with those animals at all.
Okay, thank you. Anything else? We've got Commissioner Hopkins back on the board.
My question is, you said you do have an estimate.
Yes.
Do you have a date set yet for
Tuesday or
installation?
Wednesday depends on when the guy can come out and mark the lines for the water and the.
So within the next 20 days or so, you will
Yes,
have
we'll
this
a
fence up?
It's gonna be 6 feet high and a 6-foot gate on it. So it's a black galvanized with the rail on the top.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Seeing no one else on the board, anyone have any, did you have another?
Hear from this sheriff's deputy.
The Odells, do y'all have anything else you'd like to add
No,
before
sir.
you sit? Thank you for coming up. Thank you for your time. Mr. Deputy, could you come up, please?
You mind if I approach?
You got something to show? Okay.
That's the, picture of them bringing the dog back across. And picture of,
Is that the ones that are attached?
The lacerations. Yes. These are attached on the second one.
Yeah, I think we've seen these. You good?
I wanted to ask you a question.
yes, sir.
I see. Here is the dog being lifted over the fence in question.
Correct.
I saw you shaking your head when the Odells were speaking about some topics. Would you mind?
Well, when I was shaking my head about when they said there was no blood on the dog's face, basically they're like a cougar. When they attack prey, they normally grab them around the throat collapse it, and they'll die from that. They'll puncture. There's not a lot of blood and gore. But now you see on the one goat that they'll grab the ears. I've seen a lot of dogs, mainly pit bulls or something like that, would grab the ears. They'll tear the ears off of the sheep. This one right here, mainly grabbing around the throat or around the shoulder area.
Okay.
Is that all you were
Yes, sir.
thinking about?
Yes,
So
sir.
You think that the dog wasn't attacking them with its face, so it didn't get covered in blood. He was squeezing their throats with his teeth.
Yes, sir.
And not
It
trying
was
to
like
tear
around
them
the
open.
shoulder area, the neck area. There's not gonna be a lot of blood being dispersed
Thank
at
you.
that
And
point.
just to repeat, is there any doubt in your mind that it was the Odell's dog that did this?
No, sir, there's no doubt.
You think it couldn't have been an invisible pack of coyotes
Not
at
with
the
the
same time he
evidence
was there?
from the witnesses watching the husband, seeing the dog attack the goats.
Are the sheep owners here? No. Yes, no.
I do not believe they are.
Okay, but you found their testimony to be convincing,
Correct.
beyond any doubt.
Correct.
Thank you very much.
Yes,
Thank
sir.
you, Mr. President.
Commissioner Hopkins, are you off the board now?
Well, I wanted to make a motion at this time. But if there's still questions,
Okay, there's still some questions, I
But-
think. Commissioner Talfero.
I'll pass, Mr. President. I forgot my question.
Okay, Commissioner Hopkins.
I would like to move to remove the dangerous dog label and put the 5 sets of corrective action stipulations. 1, fenced property where dog will be outside within the next 20 days. Make use of extra strength collar and leash when leaving property. Pay half the cost of all boarding fees for the last 11 days. Spay and neuter, which is already our law, but make sure there's spay and neuter within the next 20 days. And pay for the cost of the sheep that we know was at the same time that the dog was removed from their property, that one sheep.
Do you know if the Odells agreed to those stipulations? Have the Odells agreed to those stipulations?
I would imagine they'd want to.
Sorry, so that's a motion by Commissioner Hopkins. Do we have a second?
Second.
A second by Commissioner Lazarus. Commissioner Johnson, do you have a question?
I want to make a substitute motion.
Okay.
Deem the dog dangerous, as he
Second.
is.
All right, we have a substitute motion by Commissioner Johnson to deem the dog dangerous, seconded by Commissioner Young. Any other questions? Anyone on the board? All right, these, I think these are all old
Yes.
names on the board here. I no longer have my question. We have the vote on the substitute motion that was raised by Commissioner Johnson to deem the dog dangerous. Let's have a vote.
If you could, I apologize, our voting system just crashed. Give us just 1 second to get it back up, or
Okay.
we can take a voice vote.
Well, for the benefit of the Odells and the others in the audience, Commissioner Johnson has made a secondary or substitute motion to deem the dog dangerous. We will vote on that substitute motion. If that substitute motion fails, then we will revert to Commissioner Hopkins' original motion and vote on that. Okay? Did you have a question?
A point of clarification, is yours just to uphold the dangerous deem of, okay.
So basically to uphold the recommendation.
To uphold the recommendation, okay.
Okay, are we ready to vote? Is the system up and running? We good?
Can we do roll call?
We're just going to need to do a roll call if that's okay. Okay, Commissioner Hopkins?
Wait 1 second. It looks like the electronic version is up. Do you see something otherwise?
It is not up on our end yet. It's
Okay.
still,
Okay.
it's
All right.
processing. It may be up momentarily if you want to hold just a sec, but it's still.
Can
it
we
looks
still
like
ask
it's-
it while we're waiting? Oh.
No.
Okay, I've had a request to clarify what we're voting on here. We are voting on Commissioner Johnson's motion, which is to uphold the recommendations of the board to deem the dog dangerous. A
this is
yes
the-
vote to this would support would uphold the board's opinion.
Correct. This is the substitute motion to uphold the Animal Services Board's deeming of the dog dangerous, which would deny the appeal. And so our system is back up, and you're able to vote.
All right, everybody vote, please.
Okay, it looks like that motion fails with 4 in support and 5 in opposition, and 3 absent. So that brings us to the previous motion. That previous motion is the motion from Commissioner Hopkins, seconded by Commissioner Lazarus, which would remove the dangerous dog designation in exchange for 5 stipulations of, and correct me if I repeat these wrong, please, but essentially completing the fence, making use of a heavy-duty chain and collar, the boarding fees for the time that the dog has been impounded, paying the boarding fees for the time that the dog has been impounded, having the dog spayed or neutered, and paying the cost for the sheep that was lost.
Okay, let's vote.
Okay, and that motion carries with 6 in support, 3 in opposition, and 3 absent.
Okay.
And so that then brings us to the end of this matter and a motion to go back into the regular agenda.
One second, I'd like to make a comment, 2 comments. First of all, the Odells, you understand that Commissioner Hopkins' motion carried, so you have agreed to the stipulations laid out by Commissioner Hopkins' motion. I hope you all will address those as quickly as possible to avoid any future problems. So thank you for that. Secondly, to the board,
Commissioner.
this in no way is intended to be disrespectful to the decisions you all made. I think that personally my goal was to come to an outcome that would resolve the situation, and I hope that this will resolve the situation. I feel that it will resolve the situation, but I personally appreciate your service and appreciate why you came to the decision you came to. I think we had some additional dialogue here that led us come to a compromise position, but that's just my view. I hope I haven't offended in any way.
Mr. President, our attorney, I think, wanted to speak.
Commissioner Epperson has a point of
something of this magnitude, shouldn't that require 7 votes? A simple resolution requires 7.
No,
Because
it was a hearing, so no, it would only need the majority of the quorum.
Okay.
And
Thank you,
Commissioner, I
Commissioner.
want to make sure that we have on the record that this is something that the Odells are agreeing to.
You want to have them come to the top in front?
Yes, if they would come and state for the record that they agree to those stipulations. And
So
that,
why they
and that
come?
they
Can I say
understand
one
that,
little
the dangerous ruling will be reinstated if an inspection is made and these are not followed.
We agree, and the fence will be up hopefully by Wednesday. And we had an appointment for Bane to be neutered before we surrendered him. So we'll do all of that, yes.
Okay, does that satisfy? You?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much. Did you have a question, Commissioner Johnson?
Oh, I wanted to make a comment.
Okay, thank you all, the Odells. I think you're free to sit. Yes, sir.
Well, my comment is that, people take out the time to develop policies. People take out time to hear cases. They're not getting paid to hear cases. They going through and hearing the case best that they can with the information that they have. The policies are being put in place. They following the policy, and then we get up here and nitpick the policy. Now, Monday, there was another deal where we could have nitpicked that policy, but we didn't because it's a UDC rule. We got to be consistent. We should be following our policies as they are intact instead of saying, well, I want you to do this, 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 and that, but I don't feel you need to do that. If that's the way the policy needs to read, we need to rewrite the policy to say that. Instead of saying, in this case, we're going to do this, the next case, you're going to follow it 100%, the next case, you follow it 50%, then you do it 35%. We don't need to do that. If the policy says this is what is deemed, we need to follow that instead of nitpicking it. And I'm surprised the majority fell for that, because you shouldn't do that. This case has been going on for over a year. 3 attacks. If it was 1 attack, I could understand something. But 3 attacks, knowing that the fence is not there, 3-sided fence. How you gonna keep a dog in on a 3-sided fence and you got fourth side that's open? It's not gonna happen. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Young.
Thank you, Mr. President. I would also like to comment. I'm disappointed in us for not following the law as it's clearly written, and I hope that no further harm comes from this dangerous dog being unlabeled and getting at large again. Thank you.
Okay. Are we ready to go back into session?
Just need a motion.
All right. Do we have a motion to move back into session?
So moved.
All right, motion by Commissioner Hopkins, second by
Second.
Lazarus. Okay, let's vote to move back.
Mr. President.
Sorry, there wasn't a clarification on when they would get the dog back, so they would need to, okay, thank you, Kelvin.
So let's go ahead and put that on record as well. Tomorrow, the Odells, I had Officer Washington bring them back. Come pick Bane up. You say you want Bane neutered at your own veterinary facility, right? Okay, it'll be $115, $10 a day for boarding, $15 for microchip, because he's not microchipped, correct? He is microchipped? Okay, so $100 tomorrow. Send me, Commissioner Hopkins, the 5 corrective actions that you want, and then I will have officers follow up to make sure that's, okay?
Thanks, sir.
All right, so the dog comes back, right? The dog stays there until the fence is completed, right? But you can still take it to get it neutered in the meantime at your veterinarian. Until the fence is done, because I can't let it go back until the fence is completed. Now, you could.
All stipulations need to be completed.
Right, I just wanted to make that public record. Now, it stays because I can't release it yet until the fence is completed.
All stipulations.
Right, all 5 stipulations, right. You paid Caddo Parish for the tip. Yes. Just come up to the facility. All 5 stipulations. $10 a day for boarding. So since he's already microchipped, that's just $100. Okay?
So that included $300?
They can decide
I decided
that.
that.
That's always a waste.
Right.
I just don't want to have to pay it.
Right.
Do we need to
Yes,
draw
we're
this?
taking care of, but we can't release the dog until those stipulations, yes. Okay, I just wanted to put that,
I think they can get with you and y'all
Yes.
can get that situated.
Okay,
And I'll
thank-
send those stipulations to you tomorrow.
okay. Thank you.
Thank you. I think we're ready to vote to go back in regular session.
And you should be able to vote now.
I know, didn't we?
Yeah,
We just.
just go back to regular agenda. All right.
Commissioner Epperson and Johnson and Telefera.
Yeah, we
Didn't
probably
get your
didn't
votes.
technically
And I
need to
think I'm
vote on
still
that.
missing, no, there we go. Okay, that motion carries with 9 in support, none in opposition, and 3 absent. That brings us back to the regular course of the agenda, where right now we sit at item number 6, which is visitors. And the first item under visitors today is our Tax Board of Review presentation from our Caddo Parish Tax Assessor, Mr. Charlie Hennington.
Hello, Mr. Hennington. Thanks for
Hello.
coming down.
How y'all doing?
Fine, thank you.
Okay, my name is Charlie Hennington, assessor for Caddo Parish, and I just have a brief letter to read you like I do every year. And that's, dear members of the Board of Review, as assessor for the Caddo Parish, for the Parish of Caddo, this is to certify that the assessments on property located in and or accessible in Caddo Parish have been listed and assessed in accordance with Title 47, Section 1992. It's further certified that the said assessments have been exposed for public review for 15 calendar days beginning August 18th, 2022, ending September 1st, 2022. Said certification of the above is given to the Board of Review as required by Title 47, Section 1992. We have some appeals this year. We have a commercial real estate appeal and I believe 1 or 2 personal property appeals. So we need to set a date, and it's typically 7 days after the appeals ended. Deadline was yesterday. We have 1 appeal by a personal property account that they're appealing all of the parish that they are in for the state. So I'm not sure if they're coming to the local board or it's going straight to the tax commission. I'll know that in the next day or so.
Okay, and
So
then
we
you'll
need to
facilitate those appeals?
Yes, typically it's like I said, it's a week later. So Wednesday would be that day, but I understand y'all have something on that day also. Maybe we could fit it in during y'all's meetings.
And we are going to coordinate tomorrow when he gets the final status
Right.
on these 2 appeals.
Because I'll know if they're going to appeal in person or just mail or send the stuff in and we'll present it for them.
Okay,
So,
Jeff, could you
so we
please?
will coordinate with all of you to confirm a date tomorrow.
Okay.
Yes.
All right, thank you very much.
Okey-doke. Y'all have a
Thank
good
you.
day.
All right, that brings us to the Shreveport City Marshal, James Jefferson. Thank you so much. Appreciate you.
Welcome, Marshal Jefferson.
Thank y'all. Thank y'all for having me. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Commissioner Chavez asked me to come in today to kind of talk about the truancy program that I've launched. With the truancy, we know truancy is not just a Caddo Parish problem, it's a statewide problem. Truancy runs about 40%. So under my administration, one of the things that I saw a need was we was already serving the truancy papers, helping the DA office out. So I said, it's something else that we can do. So I have instructed my deputies to go out as we serve our papers. If you see any kids out just roaming the streets, we're gonna stop those kids and just ask them, hey, why are y'all not in school? We need to talk to your parents. And once we get their paperwork to our office, then we start knocking on those doors, basically like it's a welfare check, just to see what's going on. You know, why little Johnny's not in school. Or, we know, when you look at the community, a lot of people do fall on hard times, but it's not no excuse for your kids not going to school. So going forward up under my administration is that I'm pushing real hard to make sure these kids are going to school, and we're gonna hold those parents accountable because the kids are our future. And so I think a lot of times when we all been kids, if you give us a lot of free time on our hands, a lot of times we're going to start doing stuff that we shouldn't be doing. So, but if we can get those kids in school and hold those parents accountable, that's what we want to do. And from my office, we are all on board to help the school board, the DA office, to help launch this program to see how it goes. And I feel very confident that this program is going to be very successful. I was looking at some stats. Going back to Ascension Parish, their truancy problems was about 41%. Within a year's time, they didn't kind of reduce it to about 12%. And basically, we just trying to do like an early prevention. If we can go ahead and just knock on doors and say, hey, why is little Johnny's not in school? The next time we come back, it's going to be a problem. And we're trying to prevent that because we don't want to just go around just locking up parents because the kids won't have parents. So if we can prevent it before it gets to that point, that's one of our main goals. That's what we're trying to do.
Thank you, Marshal Jefferson. I think we've got a couple of questions for you.
Yes, sir.
Commissioner Burrell.
Thank you, Mr. President. First of all, I want to congratulate Mr. Jefferson on taking over this important position, after Caldwell died. And I've known him for a while, and I've worked with him when Charlie was living, and I call him Charlie because we have a different relationship.
Right.
And I know Mr. Jefferson will do a great job.
Thanks,
and
sir.
just what he's doing now, being innovative.
Thank you, sir.
I was I remember when, on the truancy issue, when I was on the city council some 20-something years ago, when Chief Prater was the chief of police, and we instituted a program back then. We had considerable amount of problems then. It doesn't seem like it's gotten any better. That's what prompted us to develop the Rutherford House, I believe, was one of the solutions that we came up with.
Right.
But now, you know, it's even more so, since I have a urban inner city neighborhood. I see kids up and down the street all the time. I do call in.
Right.
Because they should be in school, because if they're not there, they're causing trouble somewhere. So I'm glad to know that you're also taking on this responsibility, because it is so important.
And what really just struck a nerve with me is I can kind of relate, you know, to that comment you just said. One of my neighbors across the street got a 16-year-old daughter, and I noticed we pretty much leave home around the same time, and I'm just heading into the office. I said, something just don't seem right, something don't look right. When I got to the end of the street, she was coming back home. So I said, okay, just let me make a block and just see. By the time I got back in front of my house, a black car pulled up. So I immediately like, you're not finna get in that car. I don't even know who, so I contacted her mom. So a grown adult, and by us being visible like that, it's really gonna help the community for these kids, because I don't know what this, you know, what kind of relationship this 16-year-old had with this guy, but I know it wasn't right. And so, and come to find out, when I notified her mom, is that the mom had been having issues with the same little boy. So I can assure you that day it didn't happen, because I was able to, you know, piggyback and just see what was going on to stop it. So that's one of my biggest pet peeves, is that, hey, these kids, the kids are our future. If we just let them run the streets any kind of way, I mean, what else to expect?
Well,
but if we can put a stop to it, that's what we want to do.
Kidnapping is becoming more of a problem. Kidnapping is becoming more of a problem too for kids, pulling them off the street.
Right.
So that will help that issue too.
Right.
Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Burrell. Commissioner Chavez.
Thank you, President. Marshall Jefferson, first off, congratulations.
Thanks,
As Commissioner Burrell said, I think everybody loved Charlie so much it's abnormal to call him Marshall Caldwell, but just to call him Charlie, because he was everybody's friend.
Right.
I know he entrusted you, and you were the second in command, and you have been for years and years, and you've been running the show for years and years with Charlie, and I know you're going to do a good job, and I'm glad you're there. And it's our job over the Juvenile Justice Center. And when I heard one of the first things that you did when you took that appointment was that you started this program, and I said, man, this is amazing, because this is only going to help us. So we started talking about it here, and I said, I need to get Marshall Jefferson down here and talk to us a little bit about it, introduce himself, and then I guess one of my questions is, how has the reception been to the people when you're, because I know sometimes some people don't like to hear that their kids are doing bad, but how has it been since your deputies have been going out?
Well, actually, we've been getting a lot of phone calls to the office, because, you know, the community know when the marshal's office come out, it's we about our business. And I can honestly say, today, before I got here, I checked my email. We got our first. I got my first email today. We're gonna do our first knock. I'm not gonna say when, but we're gonna do our first knock. But I know this time last year, when we was doing those truancy papers, I mean, kids, they'll go to show up school on the first day, and by week 2, I mean, we serving them hearing papers. So far, knock on wood, we hadn't served a truancy paper yet. So knock on wood, hopefully we don't. But so that's the message I wanted to send to, hey, the marshal's office, we are taking this truancy program very seriously.
I know, and I know the chairwoman for the Juvenile Justice Committee is not here, but I'd love to see when she does come back that we have some quarterly reports from y'all on the progress. Do you envision the same uniform, or do you envision a different uniform that's showing up at the houses?
No, we still gonna wear our same uniforms. We're not gonna change anything on the uniform.
Thank you for coming down, Marshall.
Yes, thank y'all for having me. Thank y'all.
Thank you, Commissioner Chavez. Commissioner Talfaro.
Thank you, Mr. President. Marshall, it's been such a privilege for me to serve alongside you on the street.
Yes, sir.
We've known each other for many years, and I appreciate your tenacity and your professionalism. I've never had any issues with anything that the marshals have done in supporting the SPD, and we've had the opportunity to bust some doors together and take some bad guys off the street. So I appreciate your service.
Yes,
would you explain to the horseshoe here, to the commissioners, kind of the steps of enforcement? When you do find somebody that is, truant and they need to be back in school, what is going to be the incentives for the parents to take the lead on ensuring that that is not a repetitive behavior?
Well, the first incentive is that we're not going to take you to jail, because we don't want to do that on that first time around. But if that second time around, the second time around, if we come back to the same address dealing with the same parent, there's going to be consequences. And one of the things that I instructed my department is that we're going to take this program very seriously. We're not going to play with these parents, because it's not no excuse. We're not going to tolerate it. So.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Yes, sir.
Mr. President.
Thank you, Commissioner Telfair. Thank you, Marshall Jefferson. Thank you for coming down. We appreciate all you do for our community.
Thank y'all for having me.
All right, that brings us to the next item on our agenda, which is Sharon Bim of Robinson's Rescue.
Welcome, Ms. Bim.
I'm Sharon Bim. I'm the Director of Development with Robinson's Rescue. And I just want to say on behalf of our Board of Directors, our staff, and Dr. Andrew Master Everson, thank you very much for taking your time to listen to me today. We just kind of want to present to you what it is that we're doing. Thank you so much for the funding that you've provided to us and the impact that we're making together. I printed and passed out a presentation, but I'm going to let y'all take that home to kind of peruse through at your leisure. I'm just going to be mindful of your time today and summarize a few key points that I kind of wanted to touch on while I'm with y'all today.
Great.
So to go to a regular veterinarian and pay for a spay-neuter surgery, those costs can range anywhere from $200 to $700 these days. So as a specialty nonprofit clinic here in Shreveport, we are able to perform our surgeries at an incredibly reduced cost. We have our costs anywhere from $38 to $68 depending on cat or dog, male or female, and we fundraise to offset that cost because what the customers and our clients are actually paying, that $38 to $68, we calculate with some 2021 numbers. An overall surgery for us actually costs about $128. So that low-cost program that we do, it's available to all residents, and we have not changed those prices in 14 years. It brings us great joy to be able to say that because we think that those low-cost services are key to our effectiveness in the community. So the program that Caddo Parish Commission specifically helps us fund is our SNP program. It is our subsidized spay-neuter incentive program. It is an income-based program. So Caddo Parish residents that meet that income threshold, they give us qualifying information, they fill out an application, proof of residency, proof of income, and they can actually have those spay-neuter surgeries and their rabies vaccinations provided for completely free of charge. So the funding that Caddo Parish Commission gives to us, it covers the customer's cost of those surgeries, and like I mentioned earlier, we fundraise to offset those additional costs that for the overall cost of the surgery. So we have those parish funds specifically for those surgeries. We have a wonderful database called Clinic HQ where we're able to keep track of all of our SNP surgeries, and we allot that funding as needed for that program. So about 95% of the money that the Caddo Parish Commission provides to us, it goes directly to pay for surgeries. That other 5% we use for education and outreach. We want to be able to get the word out to as many citizens as possible to know that this program is available to them. One unique way that we've done that recently is we are working to be in the Shreveport water bill mailer. We have an insert for the SNP program that's going out. We went into about 25 different Caddo Parish libraries in the last few months, and we give out flyers and hang We give out pamphlets and hang flyers and informational materials. All of our appointments are made online now, so a lot of our clients actually utilize the library services to make appointments, so it's great. We want to get involved and be a part of that and make sure that those resources are readily available to them so we can get their pets taken care of for them. Again, to better serve the community, we have a fully online booking system. It's alleviated wait times, so we book about 3 weeks out. It's worked really well for the community so far. We do about 40 to 50 surgeries a day, and we have performed about 80,000 in whole in the last 14 years of service. So we're really proud of that number, and we just want to see it grow and grow and grow. And thanks to y'all, we can. So I just want to mention that at Robinson's Rescue, we of course rely and focus heavily on spay and neuter to reduce pet overpopulation, but it also ultimately saves taxpayer dollars, and it reduces intake and euthanasia rates and decreases stray animal-related problems that affect the public. This can be anything from dealing with pests like fleas, diseases like rabies. It's quality of life for residents, sanitation issues, noise complaints, overturned garbage, even public safety issues, dealing with aggressive animals or animals in traffic. It all comes to work together to make it better for the animals in the community. And it's not just for the pets and the pet owners, it is for our government service providers, and it is for our community as a whole to make the Shreveport-Bossier area stronger and better than ever. And we appreciate everything that the Caddo Parish Commission has done. We're, again, so grateful for your support. We are grateful for the support of Caddo Parish Animal Services. We have a wonderful working relationship with them, and we just want to see that strengthen over time. And I've attached my card. If anybody doesn't want to address any questions, I want to be mindful of your time again. Please do not hesitate to reach out with any questions via email or phone. I'm more than happy to answer those for you. I'm an open door, and we would always love to have you come by the clinic for a tour so you can see exactly what it is we do in our day-to-day there. So.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Bim. I don't see anyone on the board. Thank you very much for coming down. Well, Commissioner Young has a question.
Hey.
Thank you very much. I read a number recently. I wonder if you'd share it with the commission. How many spay neuters have you performed since you started?
80,000.
80,000. And
you said it already.
Yes,
Okay,
and in
perfect.
2021.
That's a fantastic, huge number.
Yes, in
How
2020.
many, so
sorry.
just as a multiplier of that, how many animals do you estimate that prevented being born in unwanted litters?
Countless, millions of animals. So that's a tremendous impact that's made in our community.
Thank you. Thank you, that's all.
Thank you, Commissioner Young. Thank you, Ms. Bim.
Thank you all very much.
Okay, Mr. Clerk.
That brings us to the adoption of regular session minutes.
We have a motion.
Second.
Who was the motion from? Commissioner Epperson made the motion. Commissioner Young made the second to adopt the regular session minutes. Let's please vote.
All right, that motion carries with 11 in support and 1 absent. That brings us to special resolutions.
Move to
where you
adopt
have-
all special resolutions.
Second.
If I could just make a statement, I've received a note from Commissioner Burrell asking to be added to special resolution 8-1 through 8-5. If that is okay with the authors, please add Commissioner Burrell to those resolutions. Now, Commissioner Johnson, you were saying.
I want to englobo and adopt all the special resolutions.
We have a motion from Commissioner Johnson, a second from Commissioner Jones. Thank you. Any comments? Do we need to? How are we going to address these special resolutions? Commissioner Jackson, go ahead.
Oh, I just had a separate. Jeff, if you could add me to the one for Rick Gallo, please.
Which one?
Rick Gallo.
Perfect.
Thank you.
Do we need to actually? I don't see anything attached. Do we need?
Actually, it might help to let you know. So for the two that are going to be presented at the game, we're actually formatting those where probably all of your signatures will be on that,
Okay.
and all of your signatures also appear on the one for the Shreveport Mavericks.
Okay.
And we are happy to go back and add those people who would like to be added as a sponsor for those final 2 items, if you like.
Well, I'll be on them, I suppose. All right.
And you're automatically on all
Okay.
of them. So.
So we have a motion. We've had a motion to englobo and adopt. Let's have a vote.
Oh, and actually, as an aside, Commissioner Burrell is actually already on those signature line wise. just as the vice chair.
All right, okay. All right, that,
Okay, that motion carries with 10 in support, none in opposition, and 2 absent. That brings us to communiques and committee reports, where we have the administration response to information requests from commissioners. I know that the administration does have a presentation, and I believe has also handed out some additional materials.
Yeah.
Dr.
Good
Wilson?
afternoon, Commissioners. We have a few things today. We'll try to be brief also. We have a presentation from our Parks Department. I'd like Director Pat to come forward with his illustrious team. They had a tremendous year of programming for summer programs that we are very proud of, and we are going to share that with you at this time.
And Dr. Wilson, while they make their way up, I'll just let the commissioners know, you do have a hard copy of this presentation, but also should you like to follow along on your computer, if you just refresh the screen, it should be linked on there. And I believe we have a video that they'll be showing as well.
welcome, team.
Thank you. Good afternoon again, Commissioners. We have had an awesome summer. I challenge these program coordinators here. I have Mary Murphy, Stacey Gray, Katina Williams. Challenged them last year to kind of bring us a calendar of events for this summer that we could put our program fingerprints all over Caddo Parish, and they exceeded that expectations. You'll have in front of you final report of our summer programs and events and activities that we facilitated this summer. And we facilitated over 74 programs, events, and activities, serving over 38,000 citizens, Caddo Parish citizens. And in this business, you're only good as the people that work around you and work for you. And these guys here have done an awesome job of programming here this summer. We have a video presentation that we're going to show you to kind of give us a little recap of our summer. But again, I want to thank these awesome staff members for doing what they do, and they do it very well. When you all charge us to do safe summer programs and events, and these are the people that execute those programs and events. When you get the great comments at the Nature Center and about athletic camps and leagues, these are the people that are facilitating these events. And again, I want to thank Marshall Jefferson. I think he's gone. All of our Safe Summer events and our Taking It to the Streets, all of our crime initiative events, he was personally there at each and every one of the events that we had. Him and his team was there, and I want to personally, on the record, thank him.
Who was that? Who was that?
The City Marshal, Mr. James Jefferson. He was personally there at all of our Safe Summer events and our Taking It to the Streets, all of our crime initiative events. He was personally there, so again, thank you. So we are ready for the presentation, Michelle. You got that?
Should be ready.
We got that, okay. All right. again, just another recap of all the great activities and programs that were facilitated this summer. And again, I want to thank you all for all your resources, not to mention the Grab and Go feeding program that you all funded. We provided Grab and Go meals for over 6,000 kids this summer. And so thank you. That was a game changer for all of our programs. So thank you so much for all you do. Dr. Wilson, thank you and your executive team for providing us the resources and everything that we need to take this program to a whole new level, and the department to a whole new level. So again, team, thank you so much. Appreciate you.
Awesome. I think we've got a couple of questions. First of all, let me say thank you all so much for your efforts. It really is. It is apparent that that the game has been stepped up. So I know that's due to y'all's hard work, and we appreciate all you do. Commissioner Jackson.
Thank you, Mr. President. Wow.
That's what I said.
When and I don't even know if this is the funding source that y'all do all of this out of, that that ordinance that we put together a couple years ago.
Safe Summer.
Safe Summer ordinance.
It does help.
And
in addition to, yes, sir.
Okay, so but the concept of Safe Summer program, it came from that ordinance.
That's good.
And where it was and where it's come to, this is great. And just seeing all of the kids engage in those programs. And I'm looking at one sheet where it shows y'all had almost 30,000 some folks throughout the summer. And I don't know, maybe y'all ought to just add all of these sheets up. Am I missing that page where y'all add them all up? Am I skipping over that page, or is it in here?
If not, we can get you there.
Yeah, well, I'm talking about the ones where all the different programs are added up and you put them in. I mean, y'all are really touching a lot of.
Yeah, we'll do the end of the year final report with all those.
Yeah,
all those numbers be calculated.
This
so
is a lot, and I know the demand is still growing, and never thought it would grow to something like this. We were just doing really a knee-jerk reaction to crime, but y'all have taken this thing and really made it a program, a programmatic thing, and I see why NACO recognized it, and I just wanted to say thank you to Patrick and thank you to the team of ladies who are standing with you, because y'all really make it go. You know, I tell people, I'm not getting out there to grill no hot dogs and hamburgers, and that's kind of the beauty of y'all administration and we over there. I'm not gonna do that. I would, but to just really see that it come to life with these numbers and being able to attach a number to it, I really do think it's great. Dr. Wilson, the Department of Justice has a grant. I heard us talk about the grab and go meals. The Department of Justice has a grant called I think it's the Burn grant. Burn, BYRNE grant that is funded through the U.S. Attorney's Office. I think this is something that we need to sit down and talk with them about, seeing how we can get some of that community. It's like community-oriented type stuff where we are, and I think y'all did a program with the U.S. Attorney at Huntington. I saw that.
Yes.
With U.S. Attorney Brandon Brown. I think, showing this presentation to them and their team and seeing how we can partner with them to keep kids safe throughout the year, give them something constructive to do, give them something structured to do, and we can actually put a number to this. So I'd hope that we could set something up for that. And I know that the Burn grant is one that I can think of off the top of my head, but there are several Department of Justice grants out there that can help us further this program. But I just really want to say thank you for all the work, and hopefully we can continue to support that program. So thank you. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Commissioner Jackson. Commissioner Burrell.
Thank you, Mr. President. Patrick, I too congratulate you on your work. I'm always concerned about these younger kids that we see out here, and many times doesn't seem to have any place to go but get in trouble. And you and your team have done a remarkable job looking at your report. But in addition to that, when we put forth the money for the the new YMCA building, I spoke with, I believe it's Jeffrey Goodman.
Yes.
And Mr. Gary Lash concerning the Stuart Bell Stadium and better utilizing it and creating a stronger feeder program, and they were very much interested in that. I know Commissioner Jackson had talked about that too, because it's in his district, but it just happened to be located at the church in which you and I go. It's a historical facility. It has a lot of rich history in terms of baseball, and baseball is probably one of the highest paid sports there is, so you never know when there's a kid you may pull off the street, similar to what I just saw in the tennis area. Right. This young man whose father came over from Sierra Leone and wound up working at a tennis facility, and his kids, they slept there because he had to work. And now he's one of the top tennis players and may wind up winning the, I'm not sure what the competition is, but U.S. Open. The first time since, first time American.
Since Arthur Ashe, 1972.
Yeah, 72. So it's that kind of thing that makes your program so exciting, because you never know, once you plant that seed, how it would grow if it's nurtured. So again, congratulations, and hope you can put that meeting together for us.
Yes.
Oh, Coach Carter.
Yes, we already running our T-ball leagues at Galilee. Yeah, that's one of our playing sites at Galilee.
I know, but at the same time, these gentlemen were interested, and we haven't sat down with them as far as I know. Coach Carter mentioned it to me a couple of Sundays ago, because he heard us talking about it here in the commission. Okay. So let's
yes,
put
sir.
that together.
Most definitely.
Deacon.
Okay?
Thank you.
Yeah, Deacon.
Thank you,
All right, thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Commissioner Burrell. Commissioner Hopkins.
Yes, Mr. Wesley and your staff, I want to thank y'all for the hard work. It's good to see that it's throughout the parish y'all have gone out. I can tell you in District 1, I don't go to any function and Miss Katina's not there. She's there working. And the rest of the staff, I've seen y'all. Y'all done a wonderful job, and in the rural area, they really do appreciate it. We just need to find some more money, I guess, to get in there for maybe next year, if it's possible. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Hopkins. Commissioner Jones.
Thank you, Mr. President. I also want to congratulate Director Wesley and your staff. I think you all have done an outstanding job working with the resources that you have and maximizing them as far as you can. And I agree with Commissioner Hopkins. I'd like to see us do more, especially seeing that the interest is for not just sports but other programs are on the rise. And I think that's really important, because not all the children want to play sports. And it's good to see that we offer so much, because it's recreation, and that goes so far beyond athletics. And it's good to see that we have participants, not just children, but adults as well, who are participating, especially our seniors. It's a good thing to be able to see the retirees and the seniors be able to get out in the community and stay active, so they can enjoy their golden years without just sitting around the house not doing a whole lot. I did, and I agree, I did see that we have a great participation with baseball. I think everybody knows I love baseball a whole lot. I'd like to see us promote a little bit more if we can, like they would do for football or basketball. Promote baseball and soccer and some more of those lifelong sports that we can, even tennis. Things that young people may want to be in athletics, but they don't want to play those particular sports. And so I'd like to see us promote that a bit more. And the final thing that I wanted to mention, as far as Parks and Recreation is concerned, I think it's important to recognize the fact that there are so many moving parts behind the scenes that this team does that many of us don't see. We just kind of see the end product. but it's a lot of planning and organizing that goes into it to make sure that it works out correctly. And if you've never worked with youth parents before, it can be very cumbersome. So I applaud you all for being diligent with that and making sure that the citizens of Caddo have plenty to do, and we're offering a whole lot that they can participate in. I did not see anything or a whole lot as it relates to the arts, like some type of music program or something like that for children who are interested in playing instruments, unless I was missing that. And it's not criticizing, but I'm just thinking about a lot of young people are interested in that outside of the high school or middle school that they go to, and they may want to get into more of the fine arts. And so if there's something that we may be able to do or can research programs that are already active that we could possibly partner with to help them better promote those programs for children who want to be artists, want to be musicians, or whatnot. I look at that as recreation too. So that's all I have. Again, thank you for the great job that you all do.
Thank you, Commissioner Jones. See, Commissioner Talferro.
Thank you, Mr. President. Regarding children, we've all heard the quote by President Hoover about children are our most valuable resource. But JFK said children are living messages we send to a time we will not see. And I want to thank you and your staff for helping develop those messages that will obviously will catapult them into the future that many of us will not see. And we sincerely appreciate all your effort every day that goes quite unnoticed in a lot of occasions. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Talfair. Commissioner Jones, you get back on the board?
Yes, sir. One last thing. People of Greenbrook are excited about that park. Thank you all for the work that you're doing. And I know we've had some delays, weather, supply chain, and all of that. And I've tried to continue to communicate that. But they are excited just to have the opportunity to have something new and for the neighborhood to look better. So I just wanted to tell you thank you for those efforts. Here again, I know that some things have delayed the completion, and I've tried to communicate that as much as I can. So I'm not necessarily asking for a date of completion or anything today, but just want to thank you publicly for that, because they're really excited about the walking trail and all of that, being able to do that right there in their community, not having to go over to A.B. Palmer, because a lot of those people can't necessarily access that. A lot of the older people don't necessarily have cars in their community, so they're able to do that there. So I want to tell you on behalf of that community, thank you for what we're doing over there in Greenbrook as well.
Thank you. Also, by next week, we should have an official completion date between the architect and the contractor. We should have official completion date
awesome.
By early next week.
Okay, thank you.
Keep you posted.
Yes, sir.
Okay, I think that wraps it up, Director Wesley. Again, I think the fact that so many commissioners spoke to thank you and your team personally for all the efforts, I think that speaks thousands and millions, and we appreciate all y'all do. So keep up the good work.
Thank you.
Oh, yeah. Also, before you go back to your seat, Patrick, and to the awesome leaders of the Parks and Recreation Department, job well done. And thank you for adding to the quality of life that people have in the parish of Caddo through your program. And I think the best is yet to come. And commissioners, perhaps you may not know, but this is one of the smallest budgets in all of parish government. And they make it work. They do magic. So thank you all, and I appreciate it sincerely. Okay, moving right along. Commissioners, I reported on Tuesday that on our COVID infection rate, we had 3 organizational and 1 agency. Well, since Tuesday, we up 3 more now since Tuesday. So now we have 6 positive infections within our organization and 1 agency. So just be mindful that the virus is still here. It's not done with us yet, even though we want to be done with it. Also, you have at your stations a copy of the legislative priorities for next year. Please fill in the blanks and get it back to me by the 28th, the end of September, so we can meet the timelines we talked about Tuesday when we met. So let me know who you'd like to carry the priorities for you, and I'll try to facilitate that. And then we'll go ahead and get the list. I did attach the 2022 list to this format as well, so you can see what we put in for last year. And we appreciate your timeliness in getting it back to us so we can go ahead and finalize it and stand a chance of getting one of the 1,700 bills passed, filed for Caddo Parish Commission. Also, just want to remind you all that we have free rabies and microchip clinics coming up on September 24th at 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. at Magnolia School of Excellence. So it's a program that's very successful. Also, we got notification that the Standard & Poor's will be looking at our bond rating again. Every 3 years, they come back and reassess where we are, and that should occur tentatively, I think, on October 3rd. So we'll have to do another presentation, present all our finances to the Standard & Poor's bonding committee, and they'll do an assessment. And we very optimistically think that we'll get reaffirmed again for the AAA bond rating. So I think we have done an excellent job managing the parish's finances. So, but I'll keep you informed on that as we make progress towards that endeavor. So that's all I have for you today. Unless you have something for me, I'll be glad to answer any questions you may have.
Commissioner Burrell.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I do have one thing, Dr. Wilson, and don't take it as a criticism, but it kind of disturbed me, and you can address it if you would. And I'm just going to make it as a statement so that I won't get my words twisted. Mr. Lynn Coleman addressed the public at the Hearst Memorial Coliseum at a meeting on Wednesday. His concern was to stop the proposed demolition of the Fairground Fields property, and being an iconic baseball stadium that is presently in disrepair, but it's owned by the city of Shreveport, I understand. There are several properties that are out there on the fairground field, and it appears that different government bodies either fund or maintain those different buildings or properties that are there. And although Caddo Parish has, I understand, no direct investment in the fairground field property, it is a Caddo Parish asset, and therefore we should have some interest in it. Since it's located in my particular district, District 5, my constituents have talked to me about it, and they see it as part of my responsibility, although I can tell them that it's a city property, to address issues such as security, property standards, and infrastructure repairs at that facility. At that location. They do not differentiate between different government bodies or representatives in these districts, like city council, state representative, or senators, because they were all there last night, except for the congressman. They sent no representative to that meeting, and I'm going to address that later. But therein lies the rub. My main point here is that if the administration is aware of a problem that's in your district of concern, then I would think that would be brought to us, especially if they're not going to deal with it. And based on an email that I read, either you decided not to, or either asked Mr. Coleman if he would just bring it to the commission. But that was 3 weeks ago, or 2 weeks or 3 weeks ago. And I just felt that in that period of time, if it lies in one of our districts, maybe you should address us with that issue, unless you're going to deal with it yourself, because it was a little embarrassing whenever he made it public last night, and he found out that it was actually in my district, because I know Mr. Coleman. So if it was just an oversight, I can see it, but if it's a disregard for the representative of that district, then I do have a problem with it, and I just wanted to ask you to address it for me.
Okay, Commissioner Burrell, I didn't send you a response today because I think I would like to do it in public and in your face. I was a little taken back by the email this morning, but prayer changes much things in terms of my perspective. But Mr. Coleman did approach me 2 weeks ago and asked me a question. The question was whether or not the Cal Parish Commission will be interested in putting money into renovating the old stadium, the baseball stadium at the fairgrounds. My response to him was to Mr. Coleman, I suggest you come before the Cal Parish Commission and state your case, and the commission will decide. I think that was proper and in order. That's what I tell everybody else who approach us for money, to come before this commission and state your case, because I don't have a vote. And it wasn't for me to decide to disseminate information to anyone, because I get hundreds of phone calls soliciting money all the time. But I think if anybody have a serious ask, they should come before this board and have y'all decide that, not me.
I recognize that it wasn't a matter of you deciding. It was a matter of it being a problem or concern in one of our districts, that if you're going to tell them to come,
Yes, sir.
then, you know, it would just be an extended courtesy to say, well, look, this is taking place in your district, because many times we don't get it. We don't get it unless there's a constituent that comes and do it. And I'm just asking that, not as so much as a criticism, as a courtesy, if you can see that. If you don't feel that it is a courtesy, then don't do it.
Yeah,
But personally, I take everything in my district, being that in our urban district, we don't do very much there anyway. Most of the money that's spent is spent outside the urban centers because of it being in the city of Shreveport. So, you know, sometimes we take it, you know, we would like to get involved in those things before it hit us otherwise. So that's
Yes,
my
sir, I
point there. And secondly, Mr. President, next commission meeting, I talked with the people at the State Fair. I've had the State Fair area in my city council district as well as my legislative district. Now it's in my council district. So I have about 25 years of working with them over there. I was very concerned that our congressional delegation would not even send a representative to even talk to them, and they've extended the invitation to them, I understand, several times. I do have a relationship with at least a couple of them in there, and I'm planning to sponsor a resolution, and the president of the State Fair Board, Liz Swain, thought it would be appropriate if we would consider doing a resolution and asking them to get involved. There's a lot of monies out there now. The State Fair property is in shambles, and it sits on I-20. It is a reflection on this city. We're talking about the bond people coming. Let me just give you a short story. When I was on the city council as chairman, we went to New York. And when Moody came down, you know where they went? They didn't go to Spring Lake. They didn't go to Long Lake. They went to Allendale. They went to Moortown to help make their decision on how we kept the city. And it reflected in our bond issue. So I'm only saying that to say this. The property has almost become an eyesore, and it's right on I-20. And I think that if we can secure money locally and on the state level, our congressional delegation should also have some interest. So I'm going to sponsor a resolution to send there. I hope you all support it. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you. Commissioner Jackson. Okay, get back on the board if it comes back to you.
Yeah.
Commissioner Young.
Thank you, Mr. President. Dr. Wilson, does the parish government have anything to do with the Independence Bowl Stadium?
Yes, sir?
Do we have anything to do with the Independence Bowl Stadium, which is also at the fairgrounds?
No, sir.
Nothing at all?
No.
Is that a Shreveport property?
Yes, sir.
Okay, City of Shreveport property. Well, I mention it because every time I go by there, even if it's late at night and empty, I notice all the lights are on. And I know everybody's electric bills are higher, and I just wonder if maybe they're paying a lot of electric bills and then eventually going to run out of money to manage the thing. But since it's not ours, oh well. My other question is, what's the status of our tranquilizer guns? Commissioner Johnson was telling me they need them in his district for a wild dog pack.
I think there's a letter sent out on that today.
Well,
Yeah.
I saw they're going to practice with them. Have
Yes,
they been
sir.
approved
Yes, sir.
by our legal department?
Yeah, we're working with the law enforcement agency to make sure we follow proper protocols. We're working with the law enforcement agency to make sure we follow proper protocols.
Okay.
But I think that the officers are being trained now on the use of the weapon and deployment of it.
Okay, so do we have a date by which they'll be ready to be used
Mhm.
legally in our parish?
Yes, so I'll get you a date on when that will be done.
Okay, thank
Yes,
you.
sir.
Thank you, Commissioner Young. Commissioner Johnson.
Thank you, Mr. President. The NGO committee will meet on the 15th at 12 o'clock. We have the new format of approving NGOs that we'll have to go through. Might be a long meeting because it's a checklist format. Then on the 19th, the ARP committee will meet at 2:30. We have some updates from the consultant that the committee needs to know about some projects that may not be eligible for ARP. And so those two meetings are coming up. So I hope that all the committee members can be there so we can at least have a quorum to go through it. That's
So
all I have.
ARP is at 2:30 on the 19th.
ARP 2:30 on the 19th, and NGO is on the 15th at 12 o'clock.
Okay, everybody get that? That needs it?
15th.
Is that, thank you, Commissioner Johnson. Is that
Yeah,
it?
that'd probably be a 2 to 3 hour meeting.
15th, what time?
12 o'clock.
And we will have lunch.
That it?
That's it.
Thank you, sir. Any other communiques or committee reports? All right, anything else from you, Dr. Wilson?
No, sir.
Okay, well, as the President's report, I'll briefly reiterate Dr. Wilson's request that we fill out our legislative priorities forms that are on our desks, and let's get those in as soon as possible. We all heard on Monday that our legislative consultants would like this information as soon as possible so they can develop a game plan around it. So let's help our staff to help them help us. That's all I've got. Okay, thank you, Mr. Clerk. Carry on.
That
Mr.
brings us to
President,
public.
I remember what it was.
I'm sorry, go ahead,
I
Commissioner
remember
Jackson.
exactly what it was. It was the legislative priorities. On this, Dr. Wilson,
Yes, sir.
I'd be also interested in removing some of these
Yes,
that
sir.
have kind of been
Yes, sir, we can delete it.
just
and-
kind of, some people might feel they need to stay on there, but, you know, I'll be getting with y'all on some that I think need to at least come off. And I think what we also need to do is make sure we understand the difference between priorities and wish lists.
Right, that's correct.
Because at a certain point, you know, it becomes a wish list and not priorities. What are our true legislative priorities? And I did watch the meeting. I was at an appointment, but I was disappointed to not hear that mentioned that we received 1.5 million. Well, Caddo Parish didn't, but
Law school?
the Southern University system received an additional 1.5 million
Right.
for phase 2. So I mean, that can come off unless we want to change it to phase 3. And then I think the question was asked, what are some wins? I think that's a win. I think the $10 million win that we got for passenger rail, we got an additional $10 million for passenger rail. LSU Medical School received, I believe, another, I think, 19 million to create their own water system so that they don't have to be dependent upon freezes and stuff like that. So those are wins, and then the biggest win, I think, was the $70 million project right down here at the Joe D. Wagner.
Right.
So please encourage our consultants to make sure that they're paying attention to Caddo Parish related projects. Those are easy wins to identify, and big wins, major wins for our regions, because that's $70 million. That's a local contractor, a local engineer. That's money that's going to stay right here in Caddo Parish. So and
Sorry,
it's going to have
Commissioner
an
Jackson,
effect.
what is the $70 million project?
70 million. For the renovation.
For the renovation of
For the renovation of the old
state-
federal building.
The old federal building for
Oh,
the new state offices in downtown. And that's 70, right?
Yeah,
Right.
70.
70. So
And 1.7 5 million purchase price.
Right. So, and there are a number of others that we can kind of go in, but just maybe if we can also just scrub this list to see what are true priorities versus kind of, what are kind of like our wish list is. I think that would also, listening to our consultants, that might help them zero in their focus on what our true priorities is versus what, if you see a bill down there, put a green card in for it. This may not be a priority for us, but this is something that we'd like to see move forward or something. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Commissioner Jackson. Commissioner Burrell.
Since Commissioner Jackson mentioned passenger rail, I just wanted to inform you that I do have a meeting tomorrow morning with Southern Rail Commission at the invitation of the mayor and the Texas Corridor group out of Texas. As you know, when I was in the legislature, I was able to secure money to do the economic study to bridge Marshall, Texas to Meridian. And although they have they're also looking at a route between New Orleans and Baton Rouge, but we are in a position where it would not take as much money to create the passenger rail route along I-20, which was an original route that was recommended by Abraham Lincoln, believe it or not. So we will be meeting tomorrow morning, and hopefully the $10 million and the other monies we can secure will help us have rail at some point here. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you for your leadership on that, Commissioner Burrell.
Mr. President, may I add something?
Yeah, Commissioner Jackson.
Yeah, thank you. Commissioner Burrell, I wasn't aware of that. I will note that the station that's being proposed is in District 3, and I think I just heard some conversation about respecting whose district things are in. If there are meetings that are taking place about that project, I would, because this is the first I've heard of that, and I know politics being politics. I wouldn't expect the mayor's office to reach out to me, but I think Dr. Wilson needs to at least know what's going on.
I would like to.
So that he can be able to filter that information. Because if there's something going on in somebody else's district, I make sure that the situation that's going on with Fairground Field, I support that request. I think it's reasonable, and I think the same should be done for this project with the rail. People know me, I'm not coming in to try to take over nothing, but Dr. Wilson know my saying, I'd rather know about it than find out about it. That's the saying that we have with each other, is let me know about it as opposed to finding out about it. And so I'm not aware of the planning, and I know you've been working with it for a while. Yeah. Glad to have that institutional knowledge there, but I do like to be looped in on these things that are taking place in District 3, so thank you.
Well, let me make a clarification too. It has nothing to do with the depot. This is basically,
okay.
I was invited by the Texas Corridor group, because that's the group that I was working with, and just so happened the mayor is on the commission, and we'll be talking about actually long distance rail from Fort Worth to Atlanta.
Well,
so that's,
I guess I'm making my request when y'all start talking about that particular part of it. I would like to make sure that at least Dr. Wilson is there so I can filter my information in through him. So appreciate it. Thank you, Mr. President.
Okay. Any other communiques or committee reports before we move on? Seeing no one else on the board, Mr. Clerk?
All right, that brings us to the public hearing on ordinances and zoning ordinances and cases, where we have one item today, which is a public hearing for ordinance number 6253 of 2022. It's in relation to 22-15-P. That's an ordinance to amend Volume 2 of the Code of Ordinances of the Parish of Caddo as amended, the Caddo Parish Unified Development Code, by amending the zoning of property located on the south side of Mount Zion Road, approximately 600 feet east of Linwood Avenue, Caddo Parish, Louisiana, from rural agricultural zoning district to I-1 light industrial zoning district, and to otherwise provide with respect thereto. And that's the only item in this public hearing section.
All right. Ready to go to public hearings on ordinances?
What you need to just open the public hearing?
Oh, sorry. forgot my public hearing part. There's so much public here. We'd like to open the floor for public hearing on item number 6253. If there's anyone in the audience who'd like to speak in favor of or against this issue, please come forward.
And
62.
Seeing no one?
Seeing no one, the public hearing is closed, and we can
Okay.
move on.
Thank you. That'll bring us to our public hearing on ordinances, where you have a few items today. Would you like me to go ahead and read them all at once, and then you can open one hearing to address them all?
Yes, please.
Okay. We'll start with the public hearing for ordinance number 6251 of 2022. That's an ordinance to amend ordinance number 6200 of 2022, relative to a parish planning and zoning commission, to provide for its permanent status and membership, to provide for its authority, to remove the termination date, and otherwise provide with respect thereto. The next item is a public hearing for ordinance number 6252 of 2022. That's an ordinance amending the budget of estimated revenues and expenditures for the E. Edward Jones Housing Trust Fund for the year 2022 to appropriate funds received from the U.S. Treasury in the amount of $1,207,096 for the Emergency Rental Assistance Program and to otherwise provide with respect thereto. The next item is a public hearing for ordinance number 6254 of 2022. That's an ordinance amending the budget of estimated revenues and expenditures for the Oil and Gas Fund to appropriate funds for a remembrance garden at the Caddo Parish Courthouse and to otherwise provide with respect thereto. In addition to this ordinance, you will find there was a discussed amendment to this that is attached and that was discussed in a committee meeting. And then the public hearing for ordinance number 6255 of 2022 for an ordinance to close and abandon a portion of the dedication of an unnamed road in the parish of Caddo and otherwise providing with respect thereto in District 1.
All right, thank you, Mr. Clerk. All right, we will now open the floor for a public hearing on ordinance number 6251, 6252, 6254, and 6255. If there's anyone in the audience who'd like to speak in favor of or against either ordinance, please come forward. Hello, Mr. White.
Hello, sir. I just wanted to ask that the ordinance board, two things. One, that it be an odd number instead of an even number of members. I think even the parish board, when I was before them a couple of days ago, was wishing that it be an odd number instead of an even for the sake of breaking a tie. Also, when this commission created this came out of an issue for property management by the citizens, and it went all the way to the state, and a law was passed to change authorities. So I would ask that also, your consideration, one of the things that was promised as part of this was a unique set of ordinances for areas outside the city of Shreveport. So I don't know that that's ever happened, so I would ask that that be part of their charter, that as part of this, that be something that they take into consideration.
Thank you, Mr. White. Anyone else? Seeing no one else, we will now close the public hearing and move forward.
That brings us to zoning ordinances for final passage, where the only item you have today is the ordinance number 6253 in relation to case number 22-15-P. That's an ordinance to amend Volume 2 of the Code of Ordinances of the Parish of Caddo as amended, the Caddo Parish Unified Development Code, by amending the zoning of property located on the south side of Mount Zion Road and approximately 600 feet east of Linwood Avenue in Caddo Parish, Louisiana, from RA Rural Agricultural Zoning District to I1 Light Industrial Zoning District, and to otherwise provide with respect thereto. This property is in District 10.
So moved to adopt.
Second.
We have a motion by Commissioner Chavez to adopt, a second by Commissioner Young. Commissioner Chavez, would you like to comment?
Sure, thanks, President. Commissioners, this is an area of Mount Zion that is slowly moved to light industrial, and this is just going to follow suit with the other. We had no opposition in my district from this. Thank you.
Okay, let's vote. Or any other comments? Seeing none on the board, let's vote.
Okay, that motion carries with 10 in support, none in opposition, and 2 absent. That brings us to ordinances for final passage, where the first item today, you had previously done a public hearing on this, and so you did not have a public hearing for it today, but this is ordinance number 6249, which was postponed to today. It's an ordinance amending the 2022 budget of estimated revenues and expenditures for the capital outlay and oil and gas fund, and otherwise providing with respect thereto from the Economic Development Committee.
So move to adopt?
Well, and I should say, this is another item that was referred to a committee, and does have some proposed amendments below. So for clarification, I think we'd like to, if there is a motion to adopt, please clarify if you intend to incorporate those amendments.
Yeah, I'd like to amend my motion to adopt with the amendments, if I can get a second on that.
Second.
Thank you.
We have a motion from Commissioner Chavez, a second from Commissioner Talaferro to adopt the proposal as amended. Would you like to comment, Commissioner Chavez?
We've discussed this. It came out of committee, went back to committee, came back to the floor, made a lot of amendments. I think together the board has come up with something that's amenable to everybody. So I think today it should pass. Thank you, President.
Thank you.
For the record, we did also, there was a request to host a call from one of the commissioners with some of the representatives of local hospitals who weren't didn't initially have an opportunity to voice their
support.
Their ideas about this particular project.
You on the right?
That meeting did occur, and we did have participation from Oxnard, LSU, Christus, and Shriners Hospital.
Okay. I'm sorry, Commissioner Jackson, what was that?
What happened to 6251?
We're on 6249 under ordinances for final passage. When you're looking at the agenda, you may be looking at the section above it.
Okay. Thank you, Jeff.
It's not included because we did it in the last.
Okay, I was looking at the amendments on 6251. Got it. Okay.
No, yeah, it makes sense.
Okay, you good?
I'm good. Thank you.
All right. Any other comments? I'm also supportive of Commissioner Chavez's motion. I think this would be good for our whole community across the spectrum. All right. Seeing no one else on the board, let's vote.
All right, that motion carries with 10 in support, none in opposition, and 2 absent. That brings us now to ordinance number 6251. This is the item that was recently in your public hearing just before this. And this is an ordinance to amend ordinance number 6200 of 2022 relative to a parish planning and zoning commission to provide for its permanent status and membership, to provide for its authority, to remove the termination date, and to otherwise provide with respect thereto.
Long range.
Move to approve.
Second.
A motion from Commissioner Jackson to approve, a second from Commissioner Jones. Any comments?
Yes, I do.
I really don't know where we are.
We're at 14-2.
Because I was on 6251 a moment ago.
That's it.
So,
That's what we are.
so I guess we want to approve it. I don't know. If y'all don't, let me know.
Commissioner Hopkins, were you on
Yeah,
the board?
this came from the Long Range Committee originally, was to change this based upon the ruling from the Attorney General stating that the planning board had to be in place for us to make any changes to the UDC. So any future changes to the UDC has to start at the planning board. Then those changes come to us for final adoption. But for us we can't just make the change. So this is the opportunity for that temporary board to become a permanent board to start that process. We also were in a deadlock with 2 members the last time. So we added another member, making 6, and maybe those 2 individuals can both be on that board if they still are interested. Could be on there and give them a 6. Now, if we in the future see we need more members, we can always change that. And finally, it was to set up the planning board also as a zoning board of appeals. And because they hear the variances and things like that, administrative decisions, it goes to the ZBA and not the planning board. It goes to ZBA then to us. So they're sitting with the same people, but it's a different meeting. It's not the same thing. So that just kind of clears all that out. That brings us in line with the Attorney General opinion that we requested and the Attorney General opinion that Representative McCormick had requested. It fit his opinion, the Attorney General fit that, and basically said for us to move forward, we need to do this. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Hopkins. Commissioner Chavez.
No, thank you, President. He clarified.
Okay. Thank you, Commissioner Hopkins. Hopefully that satisfied our audience, our vast audience out there. So thank you for those clarifying points. All right. Seeing no one else on the board, Mr. Clerk, I think we're ready to vote.
Okay. All right, that motion carries with 10 in support, none in opposition, and 2 absent. That brings us now to ordinance number 6252 of 2022. That's the ordinance amending the budget of estimated revenues and expenditures for the E. Edward Jones Housing Trust Fund for the year 2022 to appropriate funds received from the U.S. Treasury in the amount of $1,207,096 for the Emergency Rental Assistance Program and to otherwise provide with respect thereto.
Move to approve.
We have a motion from Commissioner Jackson to approve with a second from Commissioner Young. Commissioner Jackson, any comment?
Yeah, Dr. Wilson or Haley, do y'all know? I think we established that this was ERAP 1. This is ERAP 1 or is this ERAP 2?
It's 1.
It's 1. And wasn't there just did y'all get a recent announcement about ERAP 2 reallocation? Or have y'all been notified on that or still waiting?
We haven't. We're still waiting from
Still
Treasury.
waiting. Okay. All right. Okay, thank you.
Seeing no one on the board, let's vote.
All right, that motion carries with 9 in support, none in opposition, and 3 absent. That brings us now to ordinance number 6254 of 2022. That is an ordinance amending the budget of estimated revenues and expenditures for the Oil and Gas Fund to appropriate funds for a remembrance garden at the Caddo Parish Courthouse and to otherwise provide with respect thereto. And this does come from I apologize, it looks like I did not change the sponsorship on this. It does come as a recommendation from the Long Range Planning Committee.
Second.
And could you comment on there were two
Yes, this is another one of those items, again, we mentioned earlier in the public hearing for this. There are some proposed amendments here. Those are included, so it would be important when a motion is made that those be incorporated in keeping with the discussion that happened in the committee meeting. And what those amendments do is, one, reduces the amount of funding because there are already some available resources. There's already a land available to do this. And then there is also a provision in there that would provide that the historic marker or the marker that is made that has a remembrance piece written to it, that this body would approve what is on that piece before it is printed.
So just to clarify, there's already infrastructure in place of an existing garden that will be refreshed on the west side of the courthouse. So the dollar amount has been reduced from 150 to up to 75,000, and we doubt that it'll get any. I can't imagine that it'll get anywhere near that. And then the wording has not yet been agreed to for any historical marker, and this body will agree on that wording before it comes back up for a vote on the particular wording. Commissioner Jackson.
I think y'all might have answered my question. So, because I had a concern about it coming out of oil and gas. So, am I understanding correct that the garden, because it says remembrance garden construction, it doesn't say monument or historical marker construction. It says the garden.
It's the garden and the plaque monument.
Yeah, there's a clause in there that addresses and that clause does have a slight change to the language. In the original version, prior to the amendments, it does mention that there is I wish I had the original version in front of me right now. I apologize, I don't. But it talks about something that would be constructed to essentially show the.
Recognize?
No.
You talking about depicting the individual?
It uses a portray.
So, no. So that's not where I'm at. I'm on the garden. I'm on the actual garden part of it, not the plaque, the historical marker.
Okay.
I'm on the garden. It says Remembrance Garden. I mean, I don't have a problem with it, but I thought the garden should come from the facilities budget or.
We got to construct it, we got to put sprinkler system in, we got to put some other stuff that requires more than the maintenance money.
Right.
Then buy the monument and the plaque that we talked about.
So we still need the.
It will be maintained, once we get it in, by the maintenance funds that come from the courthouse, but initially, to put it in, required dollars.
Y'all couldn't get that out of general fund?
We prefer not to.
Okay. I just think we're going down slippery slope, going into the oil and gas fund for something that is what I believe is a daily operation that the.
It doesn't exist yet.
It doesn't exist. So this is to create it. Oh, okay. Okay, all right. Well, I think it's odd, but oh well.
Okay, is that all, Commissioner Jackson?
Yes.
Okay, Commissioner Hopkins.
I just want to say this amendment came out of the Long Range Committee. I personally think $75,000 is still too much, but the committee as a whole voted to bring it out. One of the things was to make sure we commemorate all individuals lynched in Caddo Parish, and that we agree upon the wording before we put it on the marker, but also that marker be available with a QR code as a teaching experience for those that may take field trips and things. Right. So it's a remembrance garden, but it's also a tool that can be utilized somewhere down the line. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Hopkins. Commissioner Jackson, you back on?
Jones.
Sorry, Commissioner Jones, you're first.
Yeah, I just wanted to amend my motion to approve this with the amendments, because I just made a motion to approve without the amendments.
Second.
Yeah. All right, Commissioner Jackson?
Yes, this is gonna be, so are we gonna do anything? I guess I'm asking this to either you or Kevin. Is there anything proposed already to do something on the Texas Street side, garden?
No, sir. No, sir.
Are y'all gonna go ahead and plan for that in y'all's budget for the upcoming year?
Well, it's difficult to have a garden on the Texas Street side. This is the McNeil Street side, there's plenty of sunlight.
Right.
That could facilitate a garden. We had not previously discussed Texas Street side because past attempts failed to do a good garden.
To put a garden?
Yeah, it just didn't work.
But you got a blank space there now, so.
Too much shade.
It's too much shade. Okay, so y'all just think they would die. I got you. Okay. All right, I just was trying to see if we could kill two birds with one stone. I'm good. Thank you, Mr. President.
Okay, thank you, Commissioner Jackson. Commissioner Chavez?
I was going to make the amendment, but Commissioner Jones did. We're good.
Okay, we good? All right, we ready to vote? Let's vote, please.
All right, that motion carries with 9 in support, none in opposition, and 3 absent. And that brings us to ordinance number 6255, which is an ordinance to close and abandon a portion of the dedication for an unnamed road in the parish of Caddo and otherwise provide with respect thereto. This item is in District 1.
Move to approve.
We have a motion by Commissioner Hopkins, a second by Commissioner Young to approve ordinance number 6255. Any comments?
That's right. Jimmy came up last time and explained the situation on this request from the owner, and it affects no one else except his property.
Okay, thank you very much. Let's have a vote, please.
All right, that motion carries with 9 in support, none in opposition, and 3 absent. That brings us now to zoning ordinances for introduction by title, where we have 2 items today. One is to introduce ordinance number 6256 of 2022. This is in relation to 22-18-P. This is an ordinance to amend Volume 2 of the Code of Ordinances of the Parish of Caddo as amended, the Caddo Parish Unified Development Code, by amending the zoning of property located on the north side of North Lakeshore Drive, approximately 1,700 feet east of Pine Island Road in Caddo Parish, Louisiana, from R17 Single Family Residential Zoning District to RA Rural Agricultural Zoning District, and otherwise provide with respect thereto. That case is in District 2. The next item is to introduce ordinance number 6257 of 2022 in relation to 22-19-P. That is an ordinance to amend Volume 2 of the Code of Ordinances of the Parish of Caddo as amended, the Caddo Parish Unified Development Code, by amending the zoning of property located on the south side of K Lane, approximately 875 feet east of Uri Drive, Caddo Parish, Louisiana, from RA Agricultural Zoning District to I1 Light Industrial Zoning District, and otherwise provide with respect thereto. That item is in District 8, and just as a matter of, to call your attention to it, there was initially a packet that was attached to this that had some maps that didn't read very clearly. The MPC did provide some updated maps and some additional information that is now attached. So if you notice that maybe a bit of a different attachment, it does have some additional information. And that brings us to ordinances for introduction by title, where the first item we have today is the introduction of ordinance number 6258 of 2022. That's an ordinance amending the budget of estimated revenues and expenditures for the Riverboat Fund to provide an appropriation for the Caddo Council on Aging and to otherwise provide with respect thereto. And that is from Commissioner Johnson. That brings us now to work session minutes, where you should have attached the work session minutes from September 6, 2022.
Could I have a motion to approve?
Second.
Motion from Commissioner Young, a second from Commissioner Jones to approve. Let's please vote.
And that motion carries with 10 in support and none in opposition, and 2 absent. Yes, I'm sorry. I just want to make sure I counted that correctly. The next item we have is resolutions. We have resolution number 43 of 2022. That's a resolution supporting Operation Greenlight for veterans in Caddo Parish, Louisiana, from Commissioner Epperson.
Move for adoption.
Second.
Oh, you have lots of seconds there, Commissioner.
Second by everyone?
Yeah. We have a motion by Commissioner Epperson, a second by Commissioner Talaferro, since he's a vet. Well, we've got several veterans up here, but we'll give it to Talaferro. Would you like to comment, Commissioner Epperson?
Yes, this is in conjunction with NACO, Veterans and Military Steering Committee, which we are members of. And we also are going to be asking that our courthouse will be lit up in green for from November the 7th through the 13th, green light. And I've been speaking, I spoke at Bossier Parish Police Jury yesterday. I'll be going to Soda Parish. I'll be speaking at the Region 4 conference in Homer relative to this issue, and also send it to the Louisiana Police Jury Association so that all of our 64 parishes would adopt this procedure.
Commissioner Epperson, is that it?
Yes.
Do you think, may I ask you a question? Do you think we should send something to the Shreveport Times to let them know why the courthouse will be green during that period?
Right, I'll do a press release.
Great, thank you. All right, seeing nobody else, let's vote.
All right, that motion carries with 10 in support, none in opposition, and 2 absent. That brings us to old business. You have no old business to deal with today. So we'll move forward to new business, where you have a few items. The first item is authorizing the administration to create a request for proposals for the Amazon TIF Planning District.
Move to approve.
Second.
Motion from Commissioner Jackson to approve, a second by Commissioner Jones. Commissioner Jackson, would you like to comment?
Yes, thank you, Mr. President. This is just realizing or moving forward with the RFP process that administration is going to do. These funds come from the Industrial Development Board, which were derived from the closing fees from the Amazon property. So there were some questions that the city, the parish, the school board had, and hopefully the consultants that will do this sort of strategic planning will help either prepare a guide to answer those questions or give us some ideas on how we can master plan that area. So appreciate your support on it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Seeing nobody on the board, let's vote, please.
All right, that motion carries with 10 in support, none in opposition, and 2 absent. That brings us to the next item today, which is to approve Commissioner travel reimbursement to the Louisiana Broadband Summit. This is for the Louisiana Broadband Summit that took place last week. We did have a couple of commissioners.
Second.
A motion by Commissioner Epperson, a second by Commissioner Talaferro to approve. Any comments, Commissioner Epperson?
No, sir.
Okay. I can testify that there were several folks there and that we learned some stuff.
Amen.
All right, that motion carries with 10 in support, none in opposition, and that brings us to the next item, which is to adopt the recommendations of the Alcoholic Beverage Committee from their September 6th hearing. Those are listed below.
Move to adopt.
Second.
We have a motion from Committee Chair Hopkins and a second by Commissioner Epperson, I believe, to adopt. Any comments?
No discussion. This is from our meeting on Monday. These are the recommendations from each one of the cases we heard.
Commissioner Epperson, are you new on the board?
Yes, this is, I would think for the future 2023 leadership of this body, I think we need to take a serious, in-depth look at the way that we are addressing this particular committee here. It is inherently unfair. I think the onus of the problems is placed on the store owners, and more responsibility should be placed upon those employees whom most of the time are properly trained and know that they are doing wrong. So we need to take a hard look at this and find out what we can do to change this policy, because it is greatly on the wrong side of the fence as far as I'm concerned. Too much responsibility is on the owners.
Commissioner Epperson, are these state ordinances or local ordinances?
Well, that's what we need to explore. Todd and I have been here for a while. We discussed some things and said some things, but we need to get down to the nitty gritty and find out exactly who, what, when, how, and why. And this needs to be changed.
Well, Commissioner Hopkins.
We have ordinances, but part of the problem is we have no control when the person who sells gets the ticket. They go to district court, and we're not sure they're always being adjudicated, I won't say properly, but the way we think it might should. So it all falls on the property owner in our portion of our ordinance, where they have to come here. And as a former owner, you know, you can't be there 24 hours a day. And so I understand their plight, and I think we do put too much on the owner. There's got to be a happy medium we can find, and that's a committee meeting we probably need to have with the sheriff's department, the DA's office, and things like that, to see if we can come to a better understanding on the process and how these things can be adjudicated in the right place and not always on this owner. But you know, it's going to take some time. I agree with Mr. Epperson on this issue.
Well, as the chair of this committee, can we ask you to?
We can do that.
Lead us in that effort and help us come to some reasonable.
Mr. Epperson and I can work on something finally, huh? We can work together on this. How about that?
Sound pretty enthusiastic.
It don't sound too enthusiastic, but I understand.
The proof is in the pudding.
All right.
I'll referee. I'll volunteer.
Commissioner Chavez.
Thank you, President. Dr. Wilson, in regards to this, I know, and I don't see Attorney Bernstein. I know Attorney Fraser had to go out of the meeting. We directed Attorney Bernstein to fix and draft some legislation that looks similar to the city of Shreveport in regards to ABO, because of the ABO licenses and the parish differs from in the city, but also where we could make it where it stays with the person that does the fault, the crime, whatever you want to call it, and that's kind of how the city works. And I think once Attorney Bernstein comes back with that, that's going to help this committee further this situation, and to keep the commissioners abreast of what's going on. We had an Economic Development Committee where I brought some people in that have an issue where they have multiple businesses and the location reside both within the city and within the parish, and the ABO laws differ between the two. So they could have one employee work at one location but could not go to the other because of the difference in the rules. So we're going to try to keep them synonymous, and in doing that, that will also help with this scenario because the charge will stay on the person, not so much on the property, and then I think this will fix our issue. So, Dr. Wilson, if you'll give that over whenever Attorney Bernstein. Thank you, President.
Thank you, Commissioner Chavez. Okay, seeing no one else on the board, let's vote, please. Voting on the recommendations coming out of the Alcohol Beverage Control Committee.
All right, that motion carries with 10 in support, none in opposition, and 2 absent. And just in proof that great minds think alike, we actually have a meeting tomorrow to kind of talk about our internal process for this alcohol. These citations are ramping up, and we get a lot of questions in the office that we could probably share with y'all as y'all have that discussion. And some of them are difficult for us to answer as they are not really ours to answer, but many times the callers aren't exactly sure who to pose them to. So we will share that. The next item on our agenda is discussion of orphan wells.
Commissioner Epperson?
Just like for everyone to remain vigilant on the process of this orphan well. Administration, see if we can track the money. Committee chair, see if you can get answers to your questions. And a final note, and I want you to mark my word here, all the holes that we are drilling in the ground now with the gas, 20, 30, 35 years down the road, those will be your orphan wells in the future. Thank you.
All right, Commissioner Burrell.
Just want to say, Mr. Chairman, that I'll be trying to work closely with our consultants on that to hopefully get some answers to this. I believe just last week we had a front page article on orphan wells. This is a problem. I requested some sort of map that we can monitor this type of thing, but we haven't gotten anything. I'm sure that they have maps somewhere or should have some sort of inventory, but we have nothing from what I understand. Unless there is some department within Caddo Parish that's monitoring this, we haven't gotten any information
It's
on
all
it.
DNR, Division of Natural Resources.
Right, that's correct.
It falls under the Division of Natural Resources in Baton Rouge.
In Baton Rouge it does, but I'm saying here in Caddo,
Yeah.
we have a responsibility. The other thing is that when there seemed to be more of a state function, and any contracts that are let to cap these things, we're not aware of it. How do we monitor anything? We don't even know the people who they choose to cap them. So we have some issues here, Mr.
Yeah.
President.
To that point, I sent a note to the DNR and never heard back. Commissioner Hopkins.
And I guess my question is, have we heard, are they going to release the money? Are they releasing the money to local governments, or is it going to be released through DNR to pay the individuals?
As long as I know DNR is going to do that process.
So DNR will deal with the oil companies and contractors. That's what they've been doing. That's what I thought. And they have a listing of those wells. Matter of fact, the best map probably in the state is sitting in the Oil and Gas Museum in Oil City. It shows all the Caddo Pine Island field and all the little holes. So
Yeah, but when they cap the wells, that's what I'm interested in. Not all the wells out there, but when they cap them.
when they cap them, I mean, they close it and they close the file on that certain well at that time. So, I mean, I
We
guess.
have no, what I'm saying, we have no record of.
Okay. No, we wouldn't, because it would all be in Baton Rouge, yeah. Because it's like in Texas, it would falls under the, I think,
Texas Railroad.
Texas
Commission.
Railroad Commission, yeah, that's what it is. So it's they've got a different
So
body.
you're saying that we don't, if we don't have any responsibility to that,
Right.
from the parish standpoint, I have no problem with it. But,
Well, it still would be nice to know sometimes,
I
maybe
would
just a
think so,
report.
since all politics and all this stuff is local.
Okay. That's all, my question was, I wasn't sure how the money was gonna be.
Yeah, I'm
moved.
under from what I've read, I'm under the impression that the DNR will be selecting the wells that'll be P&A, plugged and abandoned, and select and contract with the service providers who would provide that service.
Okay.
But I haven't had that confirmed. That's just my hypothesis based on what I've read. So we will look further into it. Commissioner Epperson.
Dr. Wilson, may I ask you to do a formal request on behalf of this body to whatever department will be in charge of that and the process in which they'll be using, and hopefully they may answer you back. I don't know. But we got plenty of letters down there too. It's almost like, throwing it off a Cross Lake Bridge.
Okay, is that it, Commissioner Epperson?
Yes, sir.
All right.
Okay, that brings us to the next agenda item, which is authorize the use of previously approved funding for the Jerry Stevens boxing event to be held in November.
Commissioners, I'd like to make a motion to delay this. Commissioner Johnson had to leave to go to back-to-school night, and he asked if we could make a motion to postpone this until the first meeting in October regular session.
Second.
All right, we have a motion by Commissioner Chavez to
Question.
delay.
Question, Mr. Chairman.
A motion by Commissioner Chavez to delay, a second by Commissioner Epperson. Commissioner Burrell has a question.
Is this date sensitive?
His date is, but if we go to the first meeting of October regular session, it will be done by November when he needs it done.
Thank you, Mr. President.
All right, thank you. All right, anything else? All right, let's vote on a requested delay. I pushed, but I'll do it again. All
All
right.
right, that motion carries with 10 in support, none in opposition, and 2 absent. And that brings us to communiques and committee reports, round 2.
Do we have any other final communiques or committee reports? Commissioner Jackson.
Thank you, Mr. President. Want to invite everybody out to, if your schedule permits and if you're still tuned in with us, to come out this Saturday, September 10th, 6 p.m. The Caddo Parish Commission presents, or brought to you by the Caddo Parish Commission, the Northwestern versus Grambling State University game. And so we want to make sure that there are things that folks can do. We know that we're up against the historic Southern University versus LSU game. But for those who are still in the area, it's looking like the weather is going to cooperate. Great day for college football, week 2, college football. 2 institutions that are within 30 minutes of Shreveport. And so I've seen that the tailgating is picking up. I've seen that activity online is picking up. And I just think that the overall interest is picking up. A lot of people are upset because they felt that the parish and the city hadn't done enough. What I would encourage those folks is our responsibility is to provide resources. Our job is not to put these events on. It is up to the promoters, the organizers, whoever, to put these events on. I think a lot of people get it confused. They think we're supposed to do every little bitty thing about it. So please, if you hadn't bought a ticket, buy a ticket with our support. And with the stadium fee waived, it gives those institutions an opportunity for the revenues from their ticket sales to help support those institutions. It's also an opportunity to support small businesses here in Shreveport on a weekend that wouldn't have that influx. And then the following week, you'll have Highland Jazz and Blues Festival and Soul Bowl the following week. So it's as we see these trends about strong sales tax numbers. It's making sure that we have activities programmed for events to come. And so I want to thank this body. I know President Gallo, and I feel comfortable saying that President Gallo of Grambling told me that they were getting ready to move this game back to their campus had the Caddo Parish Commission not stepped up to the plate. Because the reality is that Grambling and Northwestern, they have a stadium already. And so the stadium support just wasn't enough to justify putting the game here. Patrick Wesley and I don't know if he's still here. We attended the game operations meeting, and I can tell you there was a difference between the first one we attended and the last one. So it's a sigh of relief on both of those institutions. So please, 6 p.m. At Independence Stadium, and thank everybody who's been a sponsor in that particular project. Dr. Wilson, on the E. Edward Jones Housing Trust Fund, I would like to get with y'all. I think we had some discussions about the RFP. If y'all could let me know where that stands. I know we talked about having some additional input on how that ultimately is crafted, and would love to see it before it hits. My understanding is there are some ERAP 2 dollars that are coming as well, and that those dollars can also be used for development. And I said this, and I shared it with state leadership yesterday. About this time yesterday, I shared that we can pay rent. We can pay rents until the sky turns blue. But the real problem that we have in Caddo Parish is the availability of quality, affordable housing stock, and anything that we can do to help increase our quality stock or rehab. And when I say increase it, I don't mean build something brand new. I'm talking about rehab some of the existing structures that are here. So Treasury has promulgated those rules for ERAP 2 dollars to be utilized for development. And so I would like to see us have a conversation about how we can help support development, use some of those dollars that's gonna eventually come from that reallocation to support what we're doing. I don't know if Mr. Clark is still here. Has he left?
I think he left.
Okay. I do want to just thank the MPC, and he can see it on the video. There was a young lady by the name of Kayla Davenport who reached out to me. I believe this might be in Commissioner Jones' district, Ashley Ridge. But she reached out to me at the beginning of July, I believe, beginning of July, and asked about opening a business. And in less than 30 days, she had had her site plan approved. She had had all of her permits done, and everything was good to go. The only holdup, I believe, was with LDH and some issues with the Louisiana Department of Health. That's what we want to hear when small businesses, she's a double minority at that. She's African American and a female. With her business, I believe she has a IV bar, Dr. Wilson. So if you're feeling dehydrated after you go work out, or John, if you have too many of those amaretto sours down there and need to go recharge yourself, recharge your electrolytes. Young African-American female, 30 days, and she was glad her experience, because I often ask people how's their experience and what happened, and she was very happy about the experience that she had with the MPC, and that's what we want to hear folks have. So wish Mr. Clark was here to hear that. But, you know, those are the success stories that I think the MPC should go out and put out and tell, to make sure that folks know that it's not necessarily the MPC that's holding things up. Sometimes it's entities and agencies beyond the city and the parish's control. That's it. Thank you, Mr.
Commissioner
President.
Jackson. Commissioner Young.
Thank you, Mr. President. One of my favorite events in the region is coming up this weekend. It's on the border of Districts 3 and 4. It is the Centenary Book Bazaar. This year it's in the gym at Centenary instead of in the Gold Dome. It starts Friday.
And
Haynes Gym on Kings Highway.
On the north side of Kings Highway?
Yes. And on Friday the books are full price. They drop to half price on Saturday. Bring a wagon, bring a whole bunch of books, take them home, give your TV a break. and hope to see you there. Thank you. Bye.
Thank you. Commissioner Burrell, you got another one?
Yeah. One final note, Mr. Chairman, Mr. President, was our broadband committee, you brought me, not broadband committee, broadband summit down in Alexandria. It was very informative. I tried to do a little synopsis and send it to all the commissioners because I think it's important. There are some issues that I'm understanding that is coming up where some of our major providers has sued the state to stop the initial grants. It's my understanding that it is it's in court and it's holding up broadband development in a number of parishes. So hopefully, Woody, you can follow that up and see how that is coming. Our broadband committee, I'm excited about the individuals who are on there. They seem to be excited. They are very knowledgeable, and many of them, and others are inquisitive, which is good. So hopefully we'll get something started here.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you for your support on that.
And thank
on
you,
that.
Mr. President, for leading the delegation down there.
Thank you. I wanted to thank those of you who have been instrumental in getting the Northwestern Grambling game here. I think that these games really do bring a lot of energy to our community and bring a lot of economic development dollars to our community. And for a fairly small investment, I think we'll get a great return on that. So thank you all for your leadership there. I apologize. I've got a previous commitment at Barksdale Air Force Base for that night, so I apologize. I won't be able to be there, but I'm sure that the parish will be well represented by you all. What was the other thing I had? It escapes me. I'll save it for next time. But thank you all for staying until the end of the session today. Y'all have a great weekend, and I think we are
Motion to adjourn.
Thanks, sir.